Joe Rogan Podcast. Check it out.
The Joe Rogan Experience.
Train by day, Joe Rogan Podcast by night, all day.
Yep. Okay. Salute, Bob. Salute. Pleasure to meet you, man.
Pleasure to meet you too.
How'd you start doing this YouTube channel?
I've always enjoyed talking about those things, because who doesn't?
Right.
And I was always kind of surprised at how shitty they're usually talked about. I just saw The Shooting Star.
There it goes. Yeah. It'll trick you.
Like, so often you see this type of content is like, is there a monster in the woods?
Right.
And it's like, that's not the question. The question is more complex than that, and I often don't see it brought up that way.
There's something about these, like today I listened to the creepiest Bigfoot story one. That one that you had with the one where the guy wrote in a story about the
Burying
Bigfoot
stuff in the backyard.
Yeah, that one.
Oh.
And there's something about those that, like, even if you don't believe in Bigfoot, because I don't necessarily believe in Bigfoot, there's something about it that's so compelling. There's something about things that you don't know out there in the woods that because you don't have an accurate, a real good account of everything that's in the forest.
Of course.
You know, you look out there, it's dark, and the mind is always looking for some weirdness. The mind is always looking for something that other people don't know about, or perhaps there's like a secret that the sheriffs know about that they don't share with everybody else. Like, why does that resonate so much with people? With Stephen King movies, like, or Stephen King books? It's like that kind of a thing. There's something about it that's like exciting.
Right. I'm more of a Dean Koontz fan than Stephen King.
Oh, okay. Yeah, he's great too.
Yeah.
You don't like Stephen King? You trying to throw shade?
His politics ruined it for me.
That's the problem, right?
That's the problem.
His problem is his Twitter feed. His Twitter feed's fucking brutal. It's like, dude, stop.
Right. That's nuts.
These are like the goofiest, low testosterone boomer takes I've ever heard on anything. Like, stop.
It's very true.
But he's such a brilliant writer. I also think he's a different guy, because the car accident, I think that was a big one. You know, when you get hit by a van.
Well, that'll do it.
Yeah, shit. He was really, really fucked up from that. And I also think it's getting off coke. Getting off coke and booze.
Yeah.
That was the real Stephen King. I mean, I hate to advocate alcoholism and cocaine use, because I don't think either one of them is good for you. But goddamn, they're good for writing books.
They're good for artistry, that's for sure.
There's something about his early stuff when he was off the rails. Like, he said he doesn't even remember writing Cujo. Doesn't even remember it.
It's my favorite book of his.
It's fucking great.
No.
It's a fucking great book. So is The Shining. You know, it's another one where he was like deep in the throes of addiction and just writing this fucking captivating book. It just, what he captured is there's this part of our mind that maybe we don't talk about too much, where we always wonder if everybody really knows what's going on, and maybe something could happen that people didn't expect, couldn't imagine is real, and yet you're confronted by it. You know, and that's like a lot of his stories. And you do a really good job of finding that. Also, you have a creepy voice. No disrespect.
No.
I mean, in a good way.
Mm-hmm.
Like the way you tell the stories. You know, like it's just something about it. Like, It's like you're doing radio, man. You're doing radio with illustrations, but you're doing it on YouTube.
Right. Well, that's actually why I chose the name Bob Gymlan, because I you know, Bob Gymlan's obviously the guy who was there when the Patterson footage was shot.
Right.
And it has, so my Google account or my YouTube account name way before I started the channel was Bob Gymlan.
Ah.
And my real name is Brian Gagne. And all I used YouTube for was Bigfoot content and like watching Bob Dylan rips. I'm a huge fan of Bob Dylan.
Oh, cool.
So I thought Bob Gymlan was a cool name. And it kind of evokes back to like just kind of Rod Serling a little bit, just like a slower pace. Because so much of the content now is just like top 10 creepiest sightings.
Yeah.
And it's like, whatever. It's like I like to be a little more immersed.
Yes. You do it like radio. You do it like old school radio, like creepy radio.
Yeah.
Like when they used to tell stories on like, people would sit, before there was a television, people would sit around the radio and they would listen. Like, that's where War of the Worlds, that famous thing with H.G. Wells, where he had a bunch of people believing that we're actually being invaded by Martians.
And you flee your state.
Yeah. So when did you start this channel?
I think like 9 years ago, 2016 maybe.
And was it the beginning? Was it Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Have you ever had an encounter, or
No.
is it just something that's been fascinating to you?
It's just always been interesting. But so I think my talent, and I'm not even saying I'm talented, but what I have going for me, is I am so ready to believe that everything we know is BS. Like, people don't know anything. They just don't. I mean, people know stuff, but so much of what has been in history books is already wrong.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so, like, have you ever seen a chimpanzee?
Yes.
Like, would it surprise you to learn that, like, oh, there's a smarter one, there's a faster one, there's a bigger one? Like, if a Bigfoot got hit by a bus tomorrow, like, I wouldn't be surprised.
You wouldn't be?
No, yes.
I would be terribly surprised.
Really?
Yes. Yeah. I don't know if they're real, but I think they might be real. This is what I think. I have a very strange take on this, and I know it's going to sound super stupid to anybody who's like cynical, pragmatist, but just bear with me for a moment. I think the boundaries between this dimension and other ones are permeable. And I have a feeling things can cross through them. And I have a feeling we are like, if an ant is, like, I have leafcutter ants in my yard, pretty wild. So cool to watch them. It sucks because they kill all your trees, but so cool to watch this long train of these incredible little beings carrying around these giant pieces of leaf that they cut off. And they're all going into their little house, but you wave your hand over them, they have no fucking idea you're there. Like, whatever senses they have, it does not seem to detect threats from things above. They don't seem to be worried.
Right.
You know, they don't perceive us.
Well, they're mission oriented.
Yeah.
And we are too. So if something is happening that's beyond our mission, I think it's hard to perceive it.
I think there's things that exist that are not perceivable.
Oh, I'm 1,000,000% in that camp too.
And I think there's heightened states of consciousness that people achieve under duress, extreme stress, fear. I think that's one of the reasons why a lot of them happen at nighttime. I think nighttime, it automatically fills people with a certain sense of anxiety and fear because you don't know what's out there when you're, especially in the woods at nighttime. And I think in those times when your mind reaches this unusual chemical state, you occasionally can access these other realities. And I think that's where Bigfoot is real. I know it sounds goofy.
No, I mean,
And I don't think you can go find it. I started drinking AG1 about 4 years ago, and I love the way it makes you feel. AG1 is a research-backed daily health supplement that combines a high-quality multivitamin, probiotic, and more into one powerful scoop. It's simple, effective, and comprehensive. It's just one scoop mixed in water to get my day off to the right start. It tastes great with hints of pineapple and vanilla. I think about it as like the future of the multivitamin, the nutritional foundation that I need to help my body build itself, renew itself, and prosper properly. It's a convenient way to cover my nutritional bases, and with a product that's made at the highest quality levels and has been focused on just this one product for 14 years and counting. It's trusted, it's tested, it's simple, it tastes good. It's the simplest thing to do for your body and your health in less than 60 seconds. Trust me, you're going to love the way you feel when you take AG1. So if you want to take ownership of your health, it starts with AG1. Try AG1 and get a free 1-year supply of vitamin D3 and K2 and 5 free AG1 travel packs with your first subscription. Go to drinkag1.com/Joe Rogan. That's drinkag1.com/Joe Rogan. Check it out. That's why Finding Bigfoot is on like season 80 and they haven't found shit.
yeah, well, but see, even if it was real, I wouldn't expect them to find it either.
No, that show's just goofy.
Or even if it was flesh and blood. It's funny you would say what you said, because when I first started my channel, I was very flesh and blood type. I thought it was a very real thing, like just a bear or anything else in the woods. But a lot of commenters said, though I appreciate Bob's take on that, he will get to the woo-woo side or the spiritual side. And I was like, I am not, and I'm like halfway there already. But I don't think that I don't think that the spiritualism can be separated from anything.
How so? What do you mean by that?
I mean, I think we're spiritual beings, and I think that we're interacting with, like, kind of like the Force from Star Wars. Like I believe reality is permeable to an extent. Yeah, I mean the things that we see with our eyes and feel with that we touch, there's more than that.
It's a fraction.
Right.
It's a fraction of what's going on. I think so too. I think I think that's probably the source of whatever psychic phenomenon that is real. That's not bullshit and just a bunch of people, a bunch of hucksters robbing people. I think there's some sort of telepathic connection that people share occasionally. And I think it's an emerging aspect of human consciousness that will probably one day be as normal as hearing. I think we're just emerging from the primal. And I think also in the primal they probably have it. They probably have it in a different way. Like animals are tuned in a very bizarre way. They just know things sometimes. And you don't know why they know things because you're not even saying. Like my dog sometimes knows when we're going to go for a run.
Right.
He just knows it.
I've always been fascinated by how so many animals seem to innately know that we can help them.
Yes.
And they shouldn't think that.
Right.
You know, historically, we are not the helper of animals.
Right.
And like, be it dolphins or seals or whatever.
Or deer even.
Deer, yeah. They're just like, I'm hurt, help. And it's like, shouldn't they be afraid of the predator?
Deer have tried to contact people to get one of their friends free from barbed wire.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's something weird. There's something weird going on that is not just as simple as we're the dominant species, we have language, we figured out consciousness, we write books. No, I think there's another thing that we just don't, it's not there yet. It's just like the original cavemen had some grunts, and those grunts became words, and now those words become huge libraries filled with books that people have written. And I think that's what's going on with human consciousness. And I think there's just got to be some reason why this Bigfoot thing has been going on for so goddamn long. I think it's an interdimensional existence. I think whatever that thing is, I think it comes back and forth. And that's why I don't find anything.
Yeah. I mean, that's, as I said, I'm getting there.
You're getting there.
Getting there.
Yeah.
I mean, because as I said earlier, like, to me, the flesh and blood ape hypothesis is not as impractical as everyone says.
Well, it used to be a real thing for sure. The problem is the size of it. You can't really hide a 10-foot gorilla.
Why?
Why? Because too many trail cams, too many campers, hikers, hunters especially.
Well, it's not like people don't see it. People see it all the time.
Hunters don't see them. No, but my friends, I have a lot of friends that are like long-range backpack hunters. These guys will go 26, 27 miles into the forest with no access roads. They just hike out.
But do hunters not see them, or do hunters not say they saw it?
No, I don't know anybody who's seen them.
No?
They'll tell you all kinds of other wild shit, but they would tell you if they saw it. None of them believe that I know, but they are wary about animals. There's real threats out there. There's grizzlies, there's wolves, there's mountain lions. Those are the things they're really worried about, and those are the things that they see. And I've had friends that have had encounters with them, and even those encounters seem in some sort of weird way spiritual. Like there's a weird connection with these predators and prey, I think opens up a part of us that we don't ever experience. You don't ever experience a thing that wants to eat you. And when you do, I think your biology is like, oh, you remember this?
Right.
And like a switch gets turned on, and these genes that we've had inside of our body for hundreds of thousands of years of us running away from predators, they get ignited. And there's this bizarre connection. Have you ever like looked in the eyes of a predator?
I sure have.
What have you seen?
Well, I worked at a zoo, Brookfield Zoo in Chicago, for quite a few years. And so just this Christmas, we went there, and the lion was roaring, going nuts. And I have footage of this I can actually show you later. But It was very close, and it was roaring, and it looked like it was going to pounce, and I had no faith that that little barrier was enough. And I've literally worked at the place, and I know like there are fail safes and stuff that they can't get out. But I was just like, nope, this is nuts, because I love cats, big cats too, and like do you have a cat?
I don't anymore, but I've had cats.
Okay, just watching them and now imagining that they are bigger than you is
dude.
so horrifying.
I saw my first large mountain lion 2 years ago.
Oh yeah.
It was big, like about 170 plus pounds. And my friend Colton saw it under a tree. We were driving, luckily. We were inside the truck because it was only about 30 yards away. I would have shit my pants if I saw this thing without a barrier between us. It was so big. It was so big and so terrible. It looked like a demon. Like when you lock eyes with that thing, and again, I'm looking at it through a windshield and also binoculars. So I had 10 power binoculars, and I'm zoomed into its face, and I'm seeing it like just looking right at me with this pumpkin head, the big mandible muscles that go over the top of the skull. It's like, oh, Christ. And again, I'm looking at it through a windshield and binoculars, so I'm removed slightly from the actual force of the experience of its eyeballs on me. But if I was standing there just looking at it, I probably would have had a psychedelic experience. I probably would have tripped out. I probably would have gone into shock. I saw a grizzly bear once in Alberta. I saw one of those, and not even a big one, about a 6-foot grizzly bear. But it looks at you. I've seen black bears before. That was the first grizzly I saw in the wild, and they look right through you.
Yeah, to me, and I've only seen footage of grizzly bears, but every once in a while they have like this crackhead look where it's like they're doing that thing where they're looking to see what you got.
Yeah.
Like they're just like, what can I take from this? And you can't do anything to stop them unless you have a gun.
Yeah, we had guns, luckily. We had shotguns. But when we were looking at it, it looked like it's going to eat you. It looks like, am I going to eat you? Like, it looked like, couldn't care less if you live or die.
Right.
Like just all it's doing all day long is searching for something slow. Something with a limp, something that fucks up, something that leaves behind a kid, something that, a dog's chained up to a tree. Whoops, got one.
Right.
And that's all it's doing all day long, and it's just a big monster. And if it didn't exist, if a grizzly bear didn't exist, and there was reports of this enormous dog-like creature that eats everything and can kill a moose and lives in the woods, it would be way scarier than Bigfoot.
Yeah, for sure. Well, maybe. Maybe not.
A Kodiak?
Yeah, but
Kodiak bear would be scarier than Bigfoot.
The worst things can happen than be eaten.
Oh, like the Come For Me Bigfoot books?
Yeah,
You know about those books?
No. Yeah, obviously I've heard of them.
There's a whole genre of erotica written about Bigfoot.
Yeah, that's not my thing.
Well, you're a man. It seems to be ladies like they like their stuff in writing. That's what they like. They like reading their pornography.
Yeah, they also like monsters.
Yes.
Like
yeah.
Werewolves and vampires.
Vampires. They like vampires that fall in love with them.
Right.
Yeah. He's going to eat everybody else, so not me.
But you can change them.
Yeah, you can change them. That's also why some crazy ladies like serial killers.
Ooh,
yeah. Even serial killers that kill a bunch of women, they write to them.
Yeah.
Like Richard Ramirez, the Night Stalker, like tons of women were writing to him in jail.
Ted Bundy too.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Strange.
I'm a big fan of true crime, so I'm not sexually aroused by it.
Well, congratulations.
That's a good thing.
That is a very good thing.
Yeah.
But the thing about predators versus like Bigfoot or any of these things, like there seems to be the unknown animals for whatever reason are the ones that are most perplexing to us, the ones we're most fascinated by. Like an orca, I think, is more fascinating than Bigfoot. Like if Bigfoot was just Gigantopithecus, it was just an enormous orangutan-looking creature that lived in the woods and was omnivorous and ate a bunch of stuff and tried to hide from people. It'd be kind of cool, but it wouldn't really be as cool as this insanely intelligent super dolphin that lives in the ocean and, has this strong family bond and,
teach their different styles of dispatching prey.
Yeah, teach them how to knock over ice shelves to get a seal to slide off.
That seal footage is so tragic where it's waving it down.
It sucks for the seal.
You're rooting for the seal, but...
You're rooting for him, but he's doomed.
I keep wondering, because you know how orcas are going after boats now?
Yeah.
None of them have of the people that I'm aware of have successfully gotten in the water. So I keep wondering what they would do to the people.
I don't think there's any record of them killing human beings other than human beings in like SeaWorld and stuff like that. But that's just...
Would there be a record? Or
It's a good question. There would if there were survivors, and there's a lot of record of shark attacks, obviously.
well, those are don't listen. I don't give any mind to those the records of shark attacks. Do you know how, well, it is so hard to report a shark attack. So like if I go swimming, right, and I leave my stuff on the beach and someone calls the police, I didn't come home or whatever.
Right.
And they find me mangled on the beach the next day. I had a cardiac event and then was scavenged by sharks.
You think so?
I'm positive that's how the ISAF, International Shark Attack File, it's very difficult for a shark attack victim to be reported.
That's interesting. Do you think they do that so that they discourage people becoming vigilantes and going out and killing sharks?
They're trying to make it seem like, I think it's legit, like a Jaws thing. They don't want to make it seem dangerous.
Right.
But
they don't want to make it seem like it's a bad place for tourists.
Right. I would not go into the ocean where there are sharks. And I know that sounds nuts, but I wouldn't. It's not worth it.
My buddy Duncan was in Hawaii, either just after, I can't remember, or just before a guy got killed by a shark at the same resort that he was at.
Yeah.
Some guy was swimming and a tiger shark just took him out.
No, I'm actually working on a shark attack video now. There's a lot of untruths people talk about with sharks, I think, or maybe misunderstandings.
They just caught a bull shark in Texas in a river.
Yeah.
Like real recently. And those are the scary ones.
They are.
But those fuckers are super aggressive, and they go into fresh water all the way up to Illinois. They found them in Illinois.
Alton, yeah.
Yeah. So you're deep in this. So you think it's a Jaws thing. So they're just trying to not... What do you think ever happened with that Egyptian one? The Egyptian one's the craziest one. You ever see that footage with the guy's like screaming for his father?
Yeah.
Oh.
That's brutal. Well, because, so again, did you know that the shark that did that, like, paraded the head around? Yeah, like, so that's one of the things that I said is misinformation. Or, I hate that I'm using that word.
Yeah, that word's been tainted.
Yeah, that word's been tainted. But, so they say it's, like, mistaken identity, or sharks attack because they're pissed.
That's why they attack? They're not
Yes.
just hungry?
Correct. I can't be certain, but that would be my opinion. Because do you remember, like, I remember when I was a kid, I saw all these shark documentaries that they would show, like, the surfer and then a sea turtle or a seal side by side. It's like from the bottom, they don't look the same at all.
No.
And sharks are one big sensory organ. They know, and like, where they hang out at the bottom. And then they're silhouetted by light from the top. They can see perfectly. They're in the water all their lives. They're one big sensory organ. They know what they're attacking. And I think they want people out of their water. Because that wasn't even a consumption with that guy, with the guy who was yelling Papa.
Yeah.
Whatever his name was.
While Stand By Me was playing in the background.
And that woman, oh my God, oh my God.
It seems like a movie.
Yeah, it does. And then, yeah, because... You know the part where it turns him underwater and his legs go up?
Yeah.
It took off his jaw. Because after that, he's gargling.
Oh.
Yeah, and...
Popov's body was reportedly examined by forensic experts at a morgue in Hurghada, who claimed he was disfigured and with many parts missing. The shark said to have torn his head off, disfigured his face, and separated body parts that were retrieved from the sea. It's also reported the beast ripped apart his chest and ate parts of his abdomen and hands.
See, that's not an attempt to predate, in my opinion.
Interesting. So you think that people get in the way of fish and seals, and that's probably what the sharks actually want to eat? And they, like, these assholes are flopping around and farting in the water and...
Yeah. Oh. And or she just had pups nearby. There's anything like that.
There was also the story that I read about that particular attack where they were saying that some ranchers had dumped sheep carcasses. Did you hear about that?
Yeah. I still don't think that sharks know what they're biting. See, because if a shark bites something hard, it really damages them. They know what they bite before they bite it. And I agree that sharks don't see us as food. Sometimes they do if they're desperate. But I think we're far from ideal, because if they did eat us, they would eat us all the time.
Right.
All the time.
Yeah.
So I think, because like, you know how great whites in California don't eat people?
Right.
They only attack people. Because we're literally in the surf where seals like to be. And,
So we're in the way.
right, and they know that seals probably don't like to play around where surfers are. So they're like, oh, these things are here and I'm hungry if these things are gone. And they know that if they come up and mangle someone, the rest of people are going to be gone.
Right. It'll clear the area for a while.
Right.
Is this your own personal theory?
Oh, no. There's an amazing channel called Sharks Happen. And it's so funny, too, because the guy, he's not a marine biologist or anything. His name is just Hal. He's a machinist in Michigan. And it's so funny because I fundamentally think he knows more about sharks than anyone that I've listened to. And I think it's funny how some guy in Michigan is the expert.
That is funny.
No.
Yeah. Like, how are you getting your information, bro?
He's good at, he goes back on newspapers, and because,
Oh.
to him, all the marine biologists are just so full of it. And there is some of that. There really is. Because they will skew something so far to not blame the sharks.
Really?
Yeah, like this kid, probably like 20 years ago now, had his leg ripped off by a bull shark, which is terrifying to think because it like clamped onto his calf and then it in shallow water and his leg came off not where it was bit.
Oh.
So it like ripped it off.
Oh.
And I can't recall his name, but that was not in the shark stats as that was in the shark stats as provoked because the kid was fishing earlier.
Oh.
So it's like that's a provoked attack. And it's like
So fishing is a provoked attack?
being like a 7-year-old in knee-deep water after someone was fishing is a provoked attack. And
That's crazy.
And that's not in the stats the same way. So like that's not in a shark attack
Oh,
thing.
interesting. So there's shark attacks where there's no possible evidence of provocation. And then there's provoked shark attacks like, oh, you were asking for it?
Correct.
Wow.
Yeah. And that's the video I'm working on. I go through all the attacks in 2015 and I say like, okay, these are, I think it was like, I hope I'm not wrong about this, but like 11 or 12 attacks that they say are legit attacks because they were unprovoked. They were like random attacks. But then I talk about the other like 20 that were provoked attacks.
And so when you see shark attack statistics, they only say unprovoked attacks?
Correct.
So they're trying to downplay the shark attack numbers.
And as I said, there are so many people who like just get found bitten up and like, oh, they drowned. Then they got scavenged because sharks are scavengers and sharks don't eat people.
That's so crazy.
Yeah.
That's interesting. I never really thought about that.
Yeah, the attacks are very skewed.
It's very fascinating to me how our attitude about sharks changed with the whole shark fin soup thing. Like all of a sudden, everybody wanted to protect sharks. Like you shouldn't fish for sharks. Like you shouldn't eat sharks, because mako shark has always been served in restaurants. I've had mako shark a bunch of times in restaurants. It's very good. It tastes like swordfish. But suddenly, sharks were supposed to be protected. Like, Jesus, shouldn't we protect the fucking tuna? Like tuna are delicious. They don't kill you. They're majestic, amazing creatures, and we've killed like 90% of them in the ocean.
Yeah.
I mean, fuck sharks. That's what I think.
I mean, I love sharks.
Me too, but fuck them.
Yeah, I mean, they're assholes.
Yeah, they can go fuck off. There's an area in Key West where people fish off the piers, where you have to pull in your fish so fast because the waters are infested with sharks.
Well, that's a whole problem now with sharks because they're learning it's easier to pull it off our hooks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, which makes sense.
Sure. So they hang around piers for people to fish. And then when someone catches a big one and it takes a while to get in, they're like, oh, here we go. Dun, 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 dun. It's there's an incredible video of this guy is pulling in a tuna. And as he's pulling in a tuna, this great white cuts the tuna in half. Have you seen that?
I have seen that. Yeah. There have been people swallowed alive by great white sharks. Jeez. No.
Look, they're real. And if they weren't, they would be the craziest monster ever. We have this very bizarre thing with the human mind where we become accustomed to things. Mm-hmm. We're accustomed to cell phones. You show a cell phone to a guy in 1400s, he thinks you're a wizard, Mm-hmm. And to us, it's like, oh, that one sucks. You got a small phone. But there's something bizarre where we get accustomed to these insane creatures, like sharks.
I often think that because, there are so many creatures right now that I would give anything to be able to see that are extinct. Mm-hmm. But there are probably so many alive right now that if they were extinct, I would wish I could see them. But I take them for granted that they're not extinct.
Oh yeah, for sure.
The giraffe, I think, is one of them. If I saw a giraffe, or like the fossil or skeleton of one, I'd be like, I wonder what that thing looked like.
Well, I found out about your page because I saw the video about the 50-foot crocodile in the Congo. And as a person I've always been obsessed with crocodiles.
Okay.
I think they're, one of the coolest animals that ever has existed, and the fact that they're with us right now, and you get to see this insane creature that can go without eating for a year, lays completely still in 6 inches of water, and then explodes and pulls a zebra into the water.
Right.
They're just amazing. They're amazing, and they're so fucking big, man.
Yes.
There's like that alligator that we have out there that you saw in the lobby. That's 14 feet.
Yeah, that's not even a big I mean, it's a big alligator, but it's
It's
not
a big alligator, but it's not a big crocodile. It's a little baby crocodile.
It's not a huge alligator.
No. Like, what is the biggest alligator they've ever? I think it's 20 feet,
19 feet 9 inches.
Ah, okay. Where is that? A Florida alligator?
I want to say it was Alabama.
Really? No shit. Alabama. That's interesting. Yeah, like it's all up in that whole area. Like Louisiana has a bunch of them. Texas has a bunch of them. Northern Texas has started to show alligators. There was a sighting yesterday, actually. There was a video that these guys took of these 2 alligators swimming in a lake in northern Texas. People are like, what the fuck are they doing up here? They're expanding. When I was a kid, I lived in Gainesville, Florida, from when I was 11 till I was 13. And Gainesville had a lot of alligators. It's like where the University of Florida is. And there's a place called, what is it called? Lake Alice, I think it is. And that's where the alligators used to be. And I remember when I was there, this lady, she got her little dog got eaten. She was walking her little dog by the water and just jumped out of the water and snatched her dog. And everybody was freaked out. Like, what the fuck? It ate her dog.
Have you seen that footage of the alligator that grabs that woman's dog and then she tries to go in after it and it gives up the dog and takes her?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty brutal.
Very brutal. Yeah. They target people. Yeah, they don't target people as much as crocodiles do, but they definitely do. They eat people. And they're everywhere.
No.
There's so many of them in Florida. They're just infested. And they were protected when I was a kid.
I know. There's this great clip I found a long time ago online about, it's like from the 70s, and it's this woman talking about like how this might be the last alligator we ever see, because like they're trying to make it seem so endangered, and it's like, I don't think so.
They thought they were, and I wonder why. I wonder why they thought they were, and I wonder what kind of an accurate accounting of the animals in the Everglades they had.
I don't think we could. I mean, with poison, we probably could, but I don't think there's any feasible way to exterminate alligators, even if we tried, which we weren't.
Well, certainly not now. I wonder if maybe the ecosystem was better in check before people came along. Like, when you think about Florida. So, right, Florida, I think, was the first ever city in the country. Is that correct?
I believe it's St. Augustine, maybe?
Yeah, I think you're right. So that's where, Cabeza de Vaca landed. He landed in Florida, right? When he made his trek across the country. And so it's there's hundreds of years of people living there, but cities don't really emerge. Like that kind of Florida life, when is that? Like when does Miami emerge? When is when do you start seeing cities? Like the early 1900s?
What? I mean, no. It's got to be
earlier than that.
Earlier than that, yeah. Well, it depends. I mean, modern.
Right, but what does it look like? You know what I'm saying? Like when does it start fucking with the habitat of the alligators? Because a lot of Miami they actually filled in.
Right.
Yeah, a lot.
They got to drain the swamps.
Right.
Said the thing.
Legitimately, and they had to. I don't know how the fuck they even did it, but that's the real concern about if the ocean level rises. Like a lot of stuff's super porous. It's just gonna flood all that area.
Yeah.
But I wonder, like, how much of an impact human beings had. Like, maybe there was the Florida panther. There was a lot of, and then also back then there was no snakes, right? So right now, not no snakes, but no pythons.
Oh,
Burmese pythons,
yep.
which are an invasive species that apparently there's 2 sources. One of them is pets, and the other one was there was a research center that got hit by a storm, and they lost a bunch of pythons, which is kind of hilarious. And
Yeah.
also Nile crocodiles. There's Nile crocodiles in the Everglades now.
Really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, there's a breeding population, they think.
Wow.
They think they've already found several, and they have shoot on sight orders for Nile crocodiles.
Sure.
I've seen reports online, but unreliable. Guys saying, "Yeah, they took our cattle. They're stealing cows."
Yeah.
I don't know if that's true. Like a 16-foot Nile crocodile stealing cattle. That's what I
Could.
was saying. It certainly could, but I don't know if they ever got to be that big. And I do know that 2 that they captured shared the same genetics. So they're from very close genetic line, so they think they were related.
This is the first number I could find about extinction. in the
Serious
50s.
threat. Oh, come on.
100,000.
Endocrine disrupting pesticides like DDT. That
More
kind of
of-
makes sense.
The other thing I read was more about hunting for leather
Okay.
and meat. But
Yeah.
it's up to 5 million now.
Oh, that's so crazy. 5 million. They say if there is a pond in Florida, there is likely an alligator
Sure.
in that pond. Likely, more likely than not. There's a giant reptile that's swimming around at the bottom of that thing and occasionally poking its eyeballs up and then dropping back down.
No.
There is now, because of the pythons, 90+% of all mammals in the Everglades are missing.
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Find out what the actual number is. I think it's higher than 90%. I think it might be 99%. Like the sightings and the accounts of animals and the record of animals, and when wildlife biologists go do a count and they try to like get an accurate assessment of like what the population numbers are, it's down in some preposterous number. And then snakes are everywhere. It's the number 1 place for Burmese pythons on Earth.
Yeah. Well,
Is the Everglades.
invasive species have such an advantage because no one knows how to deal with them.
Yeah. And these fuckers are huge.
Yeah.
And you see how they're eating alligators now, too?
Yes. I mean, that would make sense, but I'm sure plenty of them are getting eaten too.
90% decline of animals in the area due to pythons.
Wow.
Nuts. Yeah, they're eating alligators. There's like a famous photograph of an alligator that's inside a python's body, and it burst.
Yeah, I
So
have
it
seen
burst
that.
out, yeah.
Isn't that a caiman though?
Do not know. Are there caimans in the Everglades?
No, I think just the picture I'm thinking of. No, there aren't. But there's a picture I'm thinking.
There might be actually caimans in the Everglades, even though they're South American.
Yeah, I
Some
should've-
asshole might have let them go.
I should have said that to me, not to you. The picture I was thinking of is a caiman that busted out of an anaconda.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I'm sure that happens too. I think this one is different. This is in the Everglades, and it's a python and a smaller alligator. I think it's like yeah.
Yeah, I
There
think.
it is.
Oh no, that's the one I was thinking of.
There's a couple different ones, unless they're all the same.
Oh yeah,
but
I'm sure there's a
few.
bunch. There's one up top that's eating one. Look at that one. The one, the image. Oh, that's a alligator eating a python. So they eat each other, depending on who's
Circle
bigger.
of life.
Circle of life.
Yeah, depending on who's bigger. Jesus Christ! Just the idea that thing could swallow a fucking alligator is just so bizarre. Yeah, that's another animal that if it didn't exist, like a crocodile, if it didn't exist, you'd be like, "There's what are you talking about?" Like there's a 50-foot giant reptile that's hiding in the water, and if you go out there, it eats you.
So I'm also a dinosaur nerd.
Mm.
And are you familiar with the updated Quetzalcoatl?
No.
So they found this trackway. Now we know that they were competent quadrupeds, but this trackway abruptly,
So Quetzalcoatl was a real thing?
the giant pterosaurs.
Quetzalcoatl is the Aztec god. You know, that's the
I know.
winged serpent.
I think that's where they named the flying reptile off of.
Oh, okay. I didn't even know that there was an actual dinosaur named Quetzalcoatl.
Well, now you're making me nervous.
Well, we don't know. Well, the good thing is we have Jamie.
Yeah.
I'm no expert, but I remember Quetzalcoatl was this insane Aztec serpent. Oh, okay, here it is.
Yeah.
Look at that thing. So it's a winged reptile-like bird.
But they found this trackway that suddenly became much longer stride, which means it started sprinting. And
Whoa.
if you look up Quetzalcoatl compared to a giraffe, they were like sprinting around. So they thought forever that they had to jump off something to make flight. But now we know that they were able to go fast enough to make their own flight. So they're as big as giraffes.
They're as big as giraffes. They can fly, and they're predatory.
And it's believed that they're probably the only thing around that would have given Tyrannosaurus Rex pause.
Whoa.
In a fight, T-Rex could obviously win, but imagine being able to sprint, because that spear would do some damage.
Wow. I didn't know that they called them Quetzalcoatl.
Well, wingspan of 40 feet.
Yeah, Quetzalcoatlus, the largest known animal to take to the sky. Few fossilized, but known from only a few fossilized bones from West Texas. Just how such a massive animal got airborne has been mostly a matter of speculation. Some think it rocked forward on its wingtips like a vampire bat, or that it built up speed by running and flapping like an albatross, or that it didn't fly at all. But according to new research, the mammoth creature probably leaped, jumping at least 8 feet into the air before lifting off by sweeping its wings. Whoa.
Yeah, so imagine, like, you're driving at that thing in a car, it could take off before you hit it. I don't know. It's just nuts. Like,
I'm sure you know about terror birds.
of course.
Yes.
You know?
Those are here,
Yeah.
right? And didn't they exist? Like, what was the most recent? How long ago did terror birds exist? They existed with people.
No,
Like-
I don't think so.
No?
No. I don't believe so.
I
I believe
think-
they were like
I think
5
it's
million.
millions.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it says no.
It says didn't exist with people.
Last sets of terror birds extinct over 10,000 years ago. So
Oh,
possible for
Oh.
that one, but this says there's no way humans could have ever met the terror birds.
why is that?
Yeah.
If it's 10,000 years ago, how could
It
they say
says the
that?
research regarding the possibility of humans living aside them says that there are no way. So I don't know.
Oh, I don't believe that.
A researcher said it.
Yeah, you don't know, bitch. There's no way you know what happened 10,000 years ago. If they lived 10,000 years ago and we lived 10,000 years ago, it's open to speculation.
For
it's
sure.
open. There's
This one says between 53 million and 18,000 years ago. So
Oh,
it's a
how
huge
weird.
window.
What a fucking window. Like, they don't know. Hey, man, you guys need to do some more work. Don't be making me fucking look stupid from a Google search. That's crazy.
Oh.
That's such a wide stretch. 53 million to 18,000? Well, if it is 18,000, people were here.
For sure.
They found footprints that are, I think they're in the 22,000 years range.
Yeah, I thought it went up even more recently than that.
I think you're right.
Yeah.
I think you're right. And this is like what's thrown that Clovis first hypothesis into sort of a tailspin.
Yeah. I suspect that there was a lot more civilization than we know about going on in North America particularly, but everywhere else too.
I think you're right. I think you're definitely right. And I think a lot of Native American people take offense to the Bering Strait hypothesis. You know, that people all came over here from Asia into the North American landmass through the Bering Land Bridge. A lot of Native Americans say that's a crock of shit.
Really?
Yeah, they think that people were always here. They think people had come from South America, they existed in South America before, they made it up through here, that people lived here, and that we really don't have an accurate account. Like, to say that, I think the idea behind it is Native Americans, if they really did come from Asia, well, they're just immigrants too. Right? And what they're saying is there's no real evidence of that. And in fact, the evidence of human beings being here is so far back before that, before even the Ice Age, that, and this is pretty clear with the footprints that they found, that there's other explanations to how humans got here. And perhaps, even though the problem is there's no other primates here, right? Like North America
Yeah, the humans didn't, as far as I know.
didn't evolve here.
No. 'Cause
Right.
wasn't it only the Caucasus in Africa, I believe?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then also primates in South America. That gets weird because you have different monkeys.
That's a big mystery, in my
Yeah.
opinion. Yeah. I mean, right now, the best hypothesis is that primates came over on floating vegetation.
What?
Well, so the distance was less, but not by a lot.
Oh, so this is Pangea times?
No, I mean, they're still continents, but it was
But I mean, as it's like separating.
correct. And I don't know. That seems weird to me.
How many monkeys are going to get on a raft?
I mean, like if there's a hurricane and it's a
Right.
bunch of them, but
How many? How?
yeah,
What?
that would be nuts.
That's crazy.
I think North America only has one primate that was not believed to be invasive, which was Smilodectus, I think.
So all the primates in South America are believed to be invasive?
Well, I mean, depends on how you define invasive, but from the old world is what they're called. Old world versus new world monkeys.
Wow. There's so many mysteries, right? There's so many mysteries with with human beings, like when they settled here. Are you aware of? There's a guy who's done a lot of research on that wall in Montana. Do you know that wall in Montana?
Mm-mm.
So there's an ancient wall in Montana that some people have tried to say is a natural rock formation, and almost anybody looks at it and goes, "You're out of your fucking mind." That's 100% placed and stacked stones. But the problem is this ancient wall. Look at that. I mean, shut the fuck up. How is that?
Oh yeah.
Just shut the fuck up. Can I see the original picture, Jamie? That one yeah. I mean, shut the fuck up. Someone stacked that for sure. It's in a straight line. They're stacked on top of each other. They form fit together. They're placed, at the same height.
But they're carved and transported.
Yeah, something was going on, right? So some ancient civilization had this, and I think it's several football fields long. I think it's really long. Like, I think what they've discovered versus how much more of it could be, because also a lot of it is covered in dirt, and if this thing is 25, 30,000 years old, who knows how long it is, how long it's been there. Like, who knows how deep it even goes. The Sage Wall, that's what it is.
Wow.
So what is that all about? Like, that was on private land, and apparently originally it was covered in trees, and they cleared the area.
Sure.
And so initially people were thinking that it was some sort of a natural formation, but then as they cleared the area, they're like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
What is this? So no explanation, no civilization tied to that area, especially one that's capable of moving monolithic stones.
But
1996 they found it.
Yeah.
While hiking around the property one day, we discovered the Sage Wall. The wall is 275 feet long and 24 feet high, a jaw-dropping marvel. In order to make these boulder areas more accessible and highlight their beauty, we created a moderate 2-mile trail system. Additional features of the trail include 400-year-old Douglas fir trees, the spectacular views of the Ruby Valley 20 miles away, and the Highland Mountain Range sitting at 10,000 feet in elevation. So this is like high elevation, covered in trees, on a piece of private land that these people just hadn't noticed that they had this thing on there. It's probably some massive ranch in Montana. And then, like, okay, what's this? No explanations.
Right.
No one knows what it is. And I love how people try to write things like that off. Oh, that's just a natural formation. Well, fuck you, it is.
Right.
You know it's not. I know you don't have an explanation, and this throws your whole understanding of human civilization in North America into the garbage bin. It really does throw it in the garbage bin because, like, what happened? What was going on there? Was this Vikings? Who fucking did this? Who did it and when?
Well, I think a lot of people make the mistake of thinking of Native Americans as like one group.
Right.
Like people, I'm sure different groups came over many times and probably a lot longer than 20,000 years ago or before 20,000 years ago.
Well, we're not exactly sure when people started traveling across the oceans.
No.
Like, when did the Polynesians make it to Hawaii?
I don't know.
We really don't know.
No.
It's just guessing. It's kind of guessing. What is the? Do they have any sort of carbon dating on any of the material that's related to that stone wall, where they have some sort of a rough estimation of its construction time?
Look up more. I was just trying to figure out where it was.
But just that one of the things that's interesting about the Bigfoot thing is that for whatever reason, Native American tribes don't have a bunch of fake animals.
Right.
They don't have a bunch of, they don't have dragons and werewolves and shit, but they do have Bigfoot. In not just one tribe, but many, many, many tribes has a story of this sort of man that lives in the woods,
Right.
which makes you wonder.
It sure does.
Yeah.
Like I said, there's way too much going on here that, to me, because it's so easy to laugh at. Like, how long have we been here, Europeans,
Right.
And how long have we had the equipment to even find it? And I do think that if it is real, which is a big if, I do think it's being suppressed.
Really?
I do.
So the government's hiding Bigfoot?
Yeah.
Really?
Would that surprise you?
Yeah.
It would?
Yeah, I think they're too stupid to hide Bigfoot.
They're too stupid to do it well, which is why so many people believe in Bigfoot.
Why would the government hide Bigfoot? What would be the motivation if you were the government and you found Bigfoot and you know what, we got to keep this from people?
I think there might be something about them that, well, for the same reason I think the wall is collapsing with UFO disclosure. I think people only recently are starting to believe that people can handle things, or the government is only recently starting to believe that people can handle things.
That's why you think UFO disclosure is going on?
Well, that and they can't contain it anymore.
I don't share that opinion.
Really?
Yeah, I think they're covering for some very sophisticated drone technology. That's what I think. I think.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well,
Either
that's boring.
maybe, but I think it doesn't exclude UFOs.
No.
This is my perspective. This is, and again, I'm not married to this at all. This is just something that I have in my head. But I believe that human beings right now are capable of propulsions. I think we have drones that operate on a completely different propulsion system than standard, rocket fuel fire pushes out the back and the thing goes forward very fast like a jet engine.
Bob Lazar shit?
Yeah, Bob Lazar shit. Exactly. I think they have that. And I think they've figured out a way to engineer that. The question is where'd they get it, right? And that's where I think UFOs come into play.
So you think that what was seen by the Nimitz is all ours?
It could be, because it's where it would be.
But then why would they disclose themselves?
Well, I think they found it and they reported it and they did what they had to do, and they didn't really talk about it publicly for many years later. There wasn't a big news story. I mean, Commander David Fravor, when I spoke to him, and it was first of all, the guy is as rock solid a military man as you're ever going to talk to.
Sure.
Just by the book, disciplined fighter pilot. Those guys are like detail oriented. They don't fuck around. This guy's not making up stories about other shit. And when he describes this thing and what they saw, and then there's multiple pilots that see it, and then there's a visual. They have video of this thing moving off at an insane rate of speed. They have radar imagery that shows it goes from above 50,000 feet above sea level to like 50 in a second. They don't know how the fuck it did it. It goes to their cat point, so it leaves them once they see it, and it jets off to this point, this predetermined coordinate where they were supposed to meet up as a part of their training run. So how the fuck does it know their cat point? Like, what is, and where it is, right? It's off the coast of San Diego. San Diego's a big military area, right? And it's where they do testing, and it's where they were doing the training runs with those jets. That's why they saw it in the first place. If I was going to have a thing and I was going to test it, I would want to know, like, what can we see? How much do our equipment show? What does our equipment show? Can we see these things? Ryan Graves, who's another very reputable fighter jet pilot, he had his encounters when they upgraded their technology in 2014. So they upgraded all the sensors that allow them to detect things in the sky. And when they did that, he started seeing these things. They're dead still at 120 knots. Makes no sense.
Right.
They started seeing these things. I always fuck this up. It's a cube in a circle, right?
Yes.
Right. So it's a black cube inside some sort of a translucent circle that multiple fighter pilots have reported.
Yeah.
And the idea of some sort of gravity distorting thing, one of the features of that, they think, would be it would look very strange. Like, it would look very strange to you, like what you see. And if we have some sort of a gravity distorting drone that operates on a gravity propulsion system, like somehow manipulates gravity so it can move at insane rates of speed, I think that's where I would test it. I would test it where the military guys are. I would test it in restricted airspace. I would test it in place, and I would say, okay, let's find out if these guys can see it now. Now we have new equipment. Put the new equipment in their jets. Let's see if they can see these things.
The concerning thing about that is if it was done by our own government, I worry that they're trying to set up for a false flag.
Like a false UFO flag?
Yeah. Like if...
An alien invasion to lock down our rights? Dun, dun, dun.
I mean, if they could stage it.
Sure.
Because, I mean, with what you're describing, no one would assume that that's human.
Right.
No one. And
No one except for people that have followed the Bob Lazar story. Because
yeah,
if they were back engineering that thing in 1989, as Bob says,
that's true. It's a long time ago.
it's a long time ago. You know, that's a long time. And for them to have 35 plus years of working on that. So you got to go back to how long did they have it? He said they've had it for decades. So but I think what he was saying back then was they really weren't making any progress. They were trying to figure it out. They kept bringing in new people to try to have fresh eyes, and
Right.
that's why they brought him in. But they really don't fucking know. He said they didn't understand how it worked. They were trying to get some sort of a working model of it. But they were able to operate it, and that's what he was able to observe, and that was one of the reasons why he got in trouble, allegedly. Where when he got fired, he brought people. They said, "Listen, I'm not crazy. Let me show you. They have fucking UFOs. I'm going to show you this thing."
He brought the people.
Yeah, he brought people, and those people all said the same thing. They all saw, and people have filmed it too. They actually had to increase the restricted space around Area 51 because people were going to a very particular vantage point, and they were filming some of these things. So there's footage of these bizarre crafts that seem to be moving through the sky in a way that no conventional aircraft can do. We don't really know what they are. And we're assuming there's some kind of a drone or something. But I think if you go to 1989 and they have those things, and then if you have all the money in the world, which they essentially do, they could print money.
Right.
You have black ops projects, you have things that we, because of national security interests, we have no idea what they're doing or how they're doing it. And then you get some of the best physicists in the world, some of the best propulsion experts in the world. And you throw an ungodly amount of money at this problem every year for 30 plus years. Then you develop these things. And I think that's one of the reasons why they would probably keep it secret, because I would imagine that money was moved around in probably an illegal way.
I mean, without congressional oversight, there's no legal way to do it.
Exactly, right? So if these guys were doing that and they were funding this secret military project that they kept from Congress, they kept from, who knows who's qualified to be able to see these things. But if I had something like that, that's the best cover story in the world. We have observed crafts that are not from this world. Like,
Yeah.
oh, well, that explains everything.
That's insufficient to me.
To me too.
Yeah.
But it's fun.
It is fun.
Both of them are fun. And I think both of them, listen, the universe is fucking huge. We exist. We send things to other planets. There is a rover right now on Mars, right? We send James Webb telescope into space. We send rockets. We do that. We would assume an advanced civilization would do that as well.
Of course.
And we would assume that if an advanced civilization was interested in studying something, we are some of the most fascinating creatures that have ever existed at least as our understanding on Earth. We're the most fascinating by far. As weird as sharks are and all this other stuff is, we're the fucking weirdest. We're the weirdest and we're the craziest to study.
Right.
And we're intelligent and also stupid. We're capable of great things and also terrible things. Like, we're a very, very, very bizarre creature. And I think I would most certainly study us.
Have you ever thought that maybe we were created by their specifications?
All the time.
Me too.
Yeah, all the time.
Yeah.
That's the big mystery of the human brain size, right? The human brain size doubled over a period of 2 million years. And there's a lot of cool, my favorite story is Terence McKenna's. He had this theory, it's called the stoned ape theory. And it's about psilocybin, and that these chimpanzees and lower primates started experimenting with psilocybin. And then over the course of a couple of million years, they developed language, they developed this ability to hunt better, fashion tools, more creativity, glossolalia, attaching sounds to objects. And that makes sense. Some sort of telepathy, increased visual acuity that does come from low-dose psilocybin use. And that seems to me like that makes a lot of sense because it coincides with climate change. When McKenna did this whole theory about it, one of the things he talked about is that the exact time that the rainforests recede into grasslands because of this change in the climate is the time where these animals emerge, start walking on two legs, and then start eating mushrooms, he thinks, and then 2 million years later become people.
Okay.
Yeah. That's an interesting one. But the most interesting one is they came here, they saw us, we were like Australopithecus, we were some hairy creature that was kind of primate, like maybe we even started using tools, and they said, let's fuck with that DNA. Let's make a labradoodle.
I don't think people think big enough in regards to that kind of thing. Because, like, if we had the technology to do what alleged aliens do, we would be doing all sorts of crazy stuff all the time.
100%.
And I don't know.
If we could introduce intelligent life into a planet, if there was life on a planet and we could introduce our DNA into these lower primates and make them more like us, you don't think we would do it?
Yes.
100%, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, we monkey with all kinds of things all the time. We're always messing around with creatures' DNA. I mean, there's a story that we talked about recently during World War I in Russia, where Russia was experimenting with hybridizing human beings and chimpanzees for soldiers.
Orangutans, too.
Yes.
Didn't they? They switched brains with an orangutan and a human, and I guess the human with the orangutan brain never regained consciousness, but evidently the human brain in the orangutan did regain consciousness.
Really?
Yeah.
How did they do that?
I don't know, but I only know this from a Monster Quest.
Is that real? Monster Quest might be a little full of shit. Although Monster Quest did bust one of the dumbest things that I used to believe. The dumbest. Flying rods.
Just the moths.
Yeah. It's just a visual artifact of cameras.
Yeah.
Where the video cameras, they catch these things moving fast, close up, and it leaves a trail. And so there was this famous group of people that thought that there was these things that were flying around faster than we can see, and that they were some sort of aliens that were amongst us.
That's orbs and ghost hunting to me.
Ghost is an interesting one. What do you think about ghosts?
I would be very I don't know. It's a tough one.
You know what I think?
What do you think?
You hear them from every culture.
Mm-hmm.
That's what gives me pause. This is not like something that's only with like Europeans and Christians and people that have a specific religious ideology. This seems to be in almost every culture. There's this concept of dead people that return,
right,
in some sort of a mysterious form.
I mean, it would be silly for a Bigfoot person to say this, but that could be part of the human condition. You know,
certainly.
Just no one wants to think that this is the end. And I don't think this is the end, but I do think ghosts are... I mean, why wouldn't a ghost be like, hello?
Because I think it's a memory.
Sure.
I think when extreme things happen, you know, when we're talking about the levels of reality being somewhat permeable under extreme situations, what is more extreme than like a murder or a massacre? And those are the places where people tend to see ghosts. These horrific... I think the earth has a memory. And I think occasionally, under the right circumstances, with the right amount of anxiety, the right amount of distractions, and the heightened sense that you get from being in the dark and being afraid,
right,
you can access these memories. That's what I believe.
Yeah, I see, but I mean, the opposite argument to that is pretty obvious. It's like just because your anxiety's up and because all those factors, and because you know what's happened there, you're more jumpy.
Mm-hmm. For sure. And you see things that aren't there.
Right, but But if you see something that's not there, does it really mean it's not there?
It doesn't necessarily, right?
No, I've always thought that, because it's like, if I say I saw a ghost and I actually didn't see it, but in my brain I did, like, isn't that seeing a ghost?
Right. That's the argument that a lot of people have in terms of psychedelics. Like, psychedelics, you contact God and you have this extreme spiritual experience where you're in contact with this all-knowing entity. And people say, oh, that's a hallucination. Okay. But it's the same experience as if you actually did contact God.
Right.
Like, whatever that thing is that you encounter in the psychedelic realm, let's say that is a figment of your imagination. I'm willing to say that. But whatever that figment of your imagination creates, it creates the exact same experience as if you encountered some other extremely potent life form that exists in some strange form that it's not tangible. It's not like it doesn't register with you as something that it's not a normal. It's not like a mug of water. You know, it's a thing that doesn't exist in your reality, and it's communicating with you. It's exactly the same experience as if it's an imaginary thing or if it's a real thing.
Right.
The experience is the same. I think that's what happens with people with the ghost thing. There's too many stories. There's too many stories of ghosts from rational people. And one of the places that has a crazy history of ghosts is the Comedy Store. I used to try to see ghosts at the Comedy Store. I would stay there late at night when everyone was gone. I'd like sit in the main room and just hope that a ghost would show up. Nothing ever did. But maybe it was I was too needy. Maybe I was too try-hard. But there's something about like that club itself was Ciro's nightclub. So that club was owned by Bugsy Siegel in the gangster era of Los Angeles, and for sure people were murdered there. Like for fucking sure.
Right.
I mean, those guys were killing people left and right. And if there's ever going to be a place where you're going to see the memory of some horrific experience that expresses itself in some sort of a spiritual form, some sort of a ghost-like wraith-type form, that's the place.
And you didn't see anything.
I didn't, but many people I know have. Many people I know have seen people walk through doors and then they go into it and it's in an empty room. Like, who's that fucking guy? And they'll see it like at the end of a dark hallway, and then they open the door to the room. The room's completely empty.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a bunch of stories. At the Comedy Store from really like reputable people that I know that aren't drunks, normal folks, and they tell you and they look fucking terrified and no one wants to believe them. There's a guy named Carl LeBeau. Carl LeBeau was a great comic who used to tour around with Sam Kinison, and he got kicked out of his house, and I guess he was staying with his girlfriend, and he was trying to make it as a comic. And comics in the beginning, they make no money.
Of course.
A lot of them sleep in their cars. Like my friend Tony slept in his car. Like a lot of these, they have a dream.
It's a lot like YouTubing.
It is, except YouTubing has a more direct path to success. With the YouTube, all you have to do is you have this platform that is like the biggest video platform on earth. And it's available to everybody.
Right.
As much as people complain about YouTube, I think YouTube is fucking amazing.
I agree.
And I think the real problems with YouTube is advertiser revenue and managing at scale. And then woke ideological crackheads that are running the helm, which is real too.
Right.
People are banning people for specific content that's completely legal. But outside of that, you have a path. If you get a video and it's like your video, you're here because I saw your crocodile video, and then bam, like I want to talk to that guy. Why are you doing that?
I can't believe that's the video that you saw.
Oh yeah, man, that's how you get me, folks.
No.
Get me with a giant reptile video.
There was no 50-foot crocodile.
You don't think so?
No. Do you?
Yeah.
Oh, real?
Yeah, I do. Yeah. Head transplant has been successfully done on a monkey. Maverick neurosurgeon. Oh, this is a head transplant. Yeah, I've heard of that.
So yeah, it wasn't a brain. I watched them. I went back through the Monster Quest episode.
The one about the Soviet Union?
Yeah, they were talking about supposedly successful test where they transplanted a head from a monkey onto another monkey, and it, according to the doctor, regained consciousness. So they said it was a success.
It wasn't. They didn't say you.
It died 9 days later, and it was paralyzed the whole time.
Oh.
Yeah, it has to be paralyzed, right? Because you can't reattach the spinal cord yet.
Oh, that's a cruel.
They
thing.
had this one.
Oh, super cruel.
This one, which is they're saying successful, happened somewhere else, and they killed it 20 hours later. But they said it. I mean, look at the picture; it's crazy.
Oh.
This guy also, I found another picture. He put a rat's or a mouse head on the back of a rat, and I think it was staying alive. He's trying to figure out how to do head transplants, and he's testing it on all sorts of other stuff.
Yo.
Crazy.
Jurassic Park comes to mind.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Just because we can, should we? I mean, think about then there will be a black market for bodybuilders. Like if I was some rich guy, I would pay money to have my head put onto a nice body.
Right, to kidnap a bodybuilder, snatch up his body.
I mean, I wouldn't, but you know what I'm
right,
saying.
but if you're like Bill Gates,
Right,
I'm tired of being a pregnant man. I want to get a body of some super jacked fitness influencer on Instagram.
Or what if it was a closet full of clothes, only bodies, and it's like, what do I want to do today?
Right. Well, one day that's probably going to be the reality when they have synthetic bodies. The idea that we can't create a synthetic body to me seems kind of silly, because we've already created bladders. They've used stem cells to recreate a woman's bladder.
Ooh.
Yeah, they took her own stem cells from her skin and constructed a bladder for her and then installed it inside of her body.
Okay.
I think she had bladder cancer or something like that. They had to remove her bladder, so they built her a bladder.
That's nice.
Yeah, pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Right? It's also your own stem cells, so your body's not going to reject it. And, they're looking at animals that regenerate. Like there's certain reptiles that, amphibians, they chop their legs off, they grow new legs. Lobsters, a lot of animals do that. And so they're trying to figure out, like, what is that gene and how can we switch that on people? So, like, people that have had their legs amputated grow their legs back, which is fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think that's coming.
They
What
were
does it say?
about to do it to a guy in Russia, but he backed out after he got married and had a kid.
Oh.
Good for him.
They apparently had done it to corpses successfully, they say.
Corpses.
And this guy was down to do it.
Well, makes sense. I mean, even though he's paralyzed, he has another option. With Neuralink and a lot of these new technologies, they think that they're going to be able to send signals to your limbs and allow your limbs to bypass the severed spinal cord.
Sure.
Which is
That's amazing.
all of it's crazy.
Yeah.
But when you talk about Jurassic Park, are you aware of the Mammoth Project?
Yeah. Did they manage to get the DNA?
Yes.
Okay.
They're growing a mammoth. Like, it's actually happening. And when it does happen, we're gonna
is this the
we're gonna
Japanese
figure
one?
out a way to visit it. No, these are American people.
Oh, okay.
I believe so. I haven't met the guys yet. I don't know their nationality. I'm assuming, but they're out of Dallas, right?
Oh.
I thought it was New York, but I don't know.
I think the thing was in New York.
Oh, okay.
Whatever. Whatever they're doing, they're gonna bring back a mammoth.
That's cool.
It's wild.
Yeah. I would
I
love
mean-
to see a mammoth.
But how far do you go with that? Do you
That's-
bring back a saber-toothed cat? What about an American lion, which was big as a fucking horse?
Yeah.
North American lion, a lot of people don't know, was larger than the lions that are in Africa.
Yeah, they're 2/3 larger.
Crazy.
Yeah, that's
And that was right here.
yeah, that was right here. I have I don't know if you know this, but I did a video on the lions of Tsavo. And-
I
and-
haven't seen that.
Yeah, and then that's the the first video of mine that ever got traction of any kind.
That's the Ghost in the Darkness story.
Yep, Ghost and the Darkness. I thought it was
Yeah.
Ghosts in the Darkness for the longest time. It's not. But then I did a second video where the lions were so badass that they died and went to hell and were really nasty in hell and got kicked out of hell and were plopped out in dinosaur times.
Oh.
And then the video is about the lions of Tsavo fighting a pack of Deinonychus.
Ha.
Yeah, and the lions lost. But in reality, I think lions would beat a bunch of Deinonychus.
Who knows? But I mean, that sounds like something the Romans probably would have put together when they were doing those Colosseum fights.
No.
But what this speaks to is what we were talking about earlier, like that. What happened to create human beings, and what would we do if we could do those things? Well, we're showing what we would do. We're taking people's heads off, putting them in other bodies. We're taking monkeys' heads off.
Yeah.
We're putting a rat's head on the back of a mouse. Like, we're doing all kinds of bizarre experiments. And if they knew how to do it, instead of like we're kind of at the rudimentary stages of this kind of stuff, if they knew how to successfully implant their genetic material and hyper advance a lower primate and make it in a short period of time much smarter than any other primate on Earth, which is what we are.
Right.
We're so different than everything else that's remotely related to us. The idea that somehow or another we exist in this form and our ancient ancestors exist in the same form. Like the really ancient ancestors, we branched off of we're like a cousin of a chimpanzee.
Yeah.
And we share a lot of their traits.
Yeah, they never found our chimpanzee level ancestor.
Right.
Yeah.
Because it's on a fucking spaceship somewhere, bro.
Would that be surprising?
No. It would be, sure. Yeah, it'd be crazy.
I wouldn't be surprised by that at all.
I wouldn't be like, I can't believe this. I wouldn't say that.
Yeah.
I would say, wow. So that's what it was. So that's why we're so different. Well, I was having a conversation with a woman yesterday, Sarah Amari Walker, who is a scientist, a physicist, and she was talking about this thing called assembly theory. And what she was talking about, did I say her last name right? What she was talking about was like, what are the actual steps that are necessary in order for life to be created and evolve. And if you think about human beings, we're the one animal on this planet that seems to have the same sort of impact as invasive species do.
Sure.
We swarm the whole planet. We're fucking up everything, and there's no answer to us.
See, but do you think humanity's something that needs an answer?
Well, there's no answer to us naturally, right? Like, there's nothing that keeps our population in check other than disease.
No, normal population control. Like, so while the left is talking about, humanity, population going out of control, like, our population's crashing.
Sure, right.
What is it? Asia crashed, Europe and America are crashing now, India's next to crash, and Africa's the only one left to boom.
Right. In terms of like Japan, like the children that are alive today, how many of them will ever have grandchildren? It's
Sure.
a very small percentage. Yeah, that's true. Elon talks about that all the time.
Yeah, I mean, because like you
Need
can
to
look
have
at
more kids.
you can look at the charts, like it's very clear,
Right, but don't you think so? This is nature's balancing act, right?
It has to happen. It's not a matter of like it's going to. It has that. Those are the rules.
I think nature probably balanced us out when we developed cities, right? Because what's the byproduct of cities? One of the byproducts of cities is it's expensive to live there. So a lot of times women get jobs, and women don't want to give up their career to have a family, so they hold it off until much later. And if they have a child at all, they have less kids than people who start having kids when they're 18 or 20.
Right.
And so this is sort of a function of having these extremely dense environments where people are stacked up with each other, and then competition inside that city-like structure is intense, and financial competition is intense, and women engage in it as well, and it lowers the population. That happens to almost all westernized societies, first world societies. They experience a drop in birth rate.
Right.
And it seems like that would be a natural feature of like high population areas.
Because it doesn't even matter what it is. Like for a deer, it's just the availability of grass.
Right.
So I find it fascinating to think that humans are not we're very different from animals, but the rules still apply to us.
Right. But we are animals for sure.
Yeah.
But we also are invasive. If a wild pig is invasive anywhere on Earth, right?
That's true.
Then we're invasive because we weren't there, and then they were there, and then we took over.
Yeah, that's true.
And we're so different than every other animal in how much different we look from each other. What the wide variety of sizes we have of people.
Yeah.
It's just, it seems to me like
I've thought about that before, though. Like, what if 7 gorillas that look exactly the same to us are all like hyper? Like, what if, like they might all look really differentiated to themselves.
I doubt it. They look like gorillas.
Yeah.
I mean, just like look at what we see.
But
we see a gorilla, but when you look at human beings, we're like dogs.
Yeah.
We vary like there's Carl over there, and then there's my dog Marshall. Marshall's a golden retriever. Marshall, if Carl was a girl, or if Marshall was a girl, they could have a baby. Those two, sort of. Like, can he breed with someone?
I mean, we can find out.
We can find out. He tries to fuck Marshall.
We can test it.
He tries. If Marshall was a girl, he'd try to hump him. Marshall just gives up sometimes, and Carl's just biting on his face while he's lying on his back.
Well,
He just gets tired of this little psychopath. But the point is, like, they're the same species. They're just a weird breed of that species. But they are the same thing. Like, you could take a wolf and you could breed it with a dog. They all started off as wolves. And we manipulated them to the point where we have this incredible variety of shapes and sizes through manipulation.
sure.
And that's what people look like. I mean, that manipulation could be environmental, like the reason why people that move to Northern Europe develop very pale skin because their body has to act as sort of like a solar reflector to create vitamin D, because you don't get it like the way you would get it in Africa where we originally started. So we're kind of like a manipulated animal in that regard, at least our appearance. And that would make sense if somebody fucked with us. Especially if they made a bunch of different kinds.
Right.
You know? Like initially, like the thought is the fun stuff is the Anunnaki, right? That's the fun one.
Sure.
That the Anunnaki came here and they manipulated with humans. Then you look at the Sumerian tablets and you see the images of the giant Anunnaki guy was the monkey person sitting on his lap with the tail. Have you ever seen that one?
Mm-mm.
You never saw that?
No.
Dude. It's like a 5,000-year-old tablet of this guy who is this enormous person with this beautiful like garb on, and he's got this person sitting on his lap, this small person with a tail.
What?
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Oh, dude, have you studied any of the ancient Sumerian tablets at all?
Honestly, that stuff, I'm like saving that for a rainy day.
Get into it.
Yeah.
Get into it, because the whole Zechariah Sitchin version of the Sumerian text is really, really interesting stuff.
Is that like... No, that wouldn't be where the Nephilim come in.
Yes.
Yeah, it is?
Yeah. That's their version of the Nephilim is the Anunnaki. The Nephilim is those from heaven to earth came. Nephilim were supposed to be giants, right?
Right.
This is the Anunnaki. They're much larger than human beings, and they did something according to the Sumerian text as translated by Zechariah Sitchin.
Okay.
And this is why the symbol for medicine was always that
serpent.
caduceus. Yeah, the two serpents, right? That looks like a double helix DNA.
Oh.
I mean, it's exactly what it looks like.
Yeah.
And that's the connection that he makes with all this stuff. And a lot of people disagree with him. I should just point out, if you're interested in this stuff, there's a whole website called sitchiniswrong.com, and I've read that too. And it's interesting, and I appreciate when people have varying opinions, right? But there's something about Sitchin's stuff that is very compelling to me, and one of the big reasons is there's a lot of mysteries about the understanding that that the Sumerians had that sort of defies conventional logic. Like, they had a detailed map of the solar system in 6,000 years ago in these clay tablets. So they have the sun in the center, and then they have all of our planets in the proper order, in the proper, not the exact size, but this one's bigger than that one's bigger than this one, and it's depicted on a clay tablet. And you look at it and you're like, okay, what the fuck is that?
But would you really need well,
Yeah, you would.
oh, you would.
Yeah,
Okay.
you need a telescope. There's no other way. Like, there's no way with the human eye you're going to see Uranus. You don't see it. There's no way you see Pluto. You don't see them.
I mean, okay.
You're not going to see it. They saw it. They had, like, find the monkey one first. Did you find it?
I was looking for. I'm not exactly sure what I was looking for that one.
Sumerian tablet Anunnaki with monkey person on his lap.
That's kind of what I had in, but it didn't. I wasn't getting what I thought you wanted. So.
Well, I know you can find the solar system one, so find that one quick, just so I could show it to him. So this is a giant mystery as to what this meant and how they knew this. So this is like in between two photos of these Anunnaki, or two images of these Anunnakis. So it has the sun, and it has all of our planets. And it has all of our planets not in the correct size, obviously, because Jupiter is so much larger than Earth.
Right.
But in this one's bigger than that one's bigger than this one. It's like a visual representation as much as you can in a small area like that. But some of their tablets were just absolutely fascinating.
Not that.
No, but how cool is that, though?
I know.
So these people were writing about the story of humanity, and they're writing it down on these clay tablets, and it seems to be some bizarre story of visitors. A lot of them have wings, like that one that shows the eagle.
Sure.
Like, what's that all about? Who's that fucking guy?
Ra, I think.
Yeah, but also wouldn't that represent some sort of a spaceship, like something that can actually fly? If the only thing that you saw that could fly were birds,
Right.
and you were trying to represent something as something that flies, you would,
Yeah, didn't in the Bible, or the Jewish Bible, the Talmud, cloud get translated to, oh no, what was it? The shield got translated to cloud with the pillar of fire. I believe there was that led the Israelites out of the desert. Wasn't it something like that?
Oh no, but that makes sense.
I could have. I said I wasn't going to talk about anything that I wasn't sure about.
No, that's what this show's all about.
Yeah, just being full of it. I could have sworn
Yeah.
that it was like there was in the Bible it says the pillar of fire and a cloud, and that's what the Israelites followed out of the desert. But
It could be.
I've read that the more pragmatic translation is actually shield, and it wasn't cloud.
Huh. Here it is. The pillars are said to have guided the Israelites through the desert during the exodus from Egypt. The pillar of cloud provided a visible guide for the Israelites during the day, while the pillar of fire lit their way by night.
Yeah, so evidently it wasn't a cloud but a shield, and like what would a shield look like? Like that, we would call that a saucer.
Right. Huh. Well, then there's the Ezekiel story in the Bible, which seems very much like some sort of a UFO encounter, like the way you would describe a UFO encounter if there's nothing that flew and you
Right.
didn't understand what advanced technology would be if you saw it. The Vimanas in the ancient Hindu text. I mean, there's just
There's
many.
so much of it.
Yeah, there's so much of that stuff. And again, if life is out there everywhere in the universe, it kind of makes sense that someone would visit us as we're emerging, as life is becoming more and more intelligent over the course of millions and millions of years, and they find this one particular animal that's very similar to what they used to be at one point in time, and they just say, let's speed this along.
You know,
I think we would do that.
I know we would.
If we found a planet filled with monkeys, you don't think we'd take a few of them and shoot our stuff into it? Like, let's see.
It'll be fun.
It might also be a feature of the universe that's what intelligent life ultimately does, which is why we want to monkey around with these monkeys in the first place and take their heads and put them on other bodies.
Yeah, so I think that different planets, in order to meet the requirements of life, would actually be quite similar. That's just a theory I have. Or not.
It's a common theory.
Well,
Yeah.
yeah, because like, so people say like, why are aliens like carbon life forms? It's like, well, that's what works.
Right,
You know,
right.
because they could be anything.
Not only that, that's ubiquitous, right?
Right.
Like bursting stars create carbon.
Mm-hmm.
This is carbon-based life exists here. Why wouldn't it exist everywhere else where there's stars everywhere else?
Right.
It seems to be that like we don't find solar systems that have something completely different than a planet. You know, everything that we found outside of our solar system seems to behave in a similar manner. When we look at galaxies, they seem to behave in a similar manner. They seem to look similar. They're of different sizes and the like, but they're pretty similar. They're
Right.
these circular spiral things. It makes sense that if that exists everywhere, probably carbon-based life exists everywhere too. It's probably a feature of these solar systems.
Correct. That's what I would say too.
Yeah, and then there's probably, like, if you are growing a garden in your backyard, you know when you planted the tomatoes. You got like a little thing on it, 722 planted tomatoes, you know?
No.
So then you check on them. And then other tomatoes you planted like a couple of weeks later, like, oh, those won't be due in time. So if you were planting humans on a planet, you'd go, well, they need a couple million years before they get their shit together, but they've started to develop nuclear bombs. So
And-
let's,
That's why they hang out over nuke bases.
yeah. Or they're foreign governments showing us that they have advanced technology and they can hover over our nuclear bases. I think there's some of that going on too.
Yeah, but there's so many, like, that fellow who, I can't recall his name, but he's like the most popular video on Greer's channel. Richard Greer or Stephen Greer?
Stephen Greer.
Yeah. He was like the guy who would discredit you if you saw a UFO.
Mm-hmm.
He told a story about how,
Alan Hopkins, is that what you're talking about?
I believe so.
You from Project Blue Book?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, actually, I don't know.
Well, Alan Hopkins was the guy who was hired to debunk UFO sightings.
No, it's not him.
He was, and then he later became a believer. So he studied. He worked for Project Blue Book for a couple decades, and was sent out to like, oh, we saw this, and he would go, swamp gas, and then after his career is over, then he came public with everything and started saying, I think UFOs are real. I think we really are being visited.
Yeah. Well,
J. Allen Hynek.
Hynek, yeah.
Yeah. What did I say?
Hopkins.
Oh, different.
No,
J. Allen Hynek. Yeah.
I was not thinking of Hynek. This guy was like a self-admitted deep state stooge. Like he was the type of guy that would go out and discredit you if you saw something.
Oh, he would discredit you personally.
Yes.
Okay. So he would turn you into a fool.
Right. So if you went to Stephen Greer's channel and looked at the most popular video on it, you would find it. But he talks for like 2 hours about everything he knows, and it's nuts.
Really?
Absolutely bonkers.
Find that guy.
And I believe
You believe him?
I
Well, you
do.
want to believe him, right?
this stuff seems so much more likely than the alternative, which is nothing.
Oh, that there's no life out there?
Yeah, and it's not even because we don't even know what they are. I mean, I'm not even saying they're extraterrestrials, really.
Not only that, but so much more likely that they would want to visit us.
Oh, I mean, yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So let's get back to the crocodile. How come you don't believe?
Why would you believe? Why would a 50-foot crocodile?
Sure. They just keep getting bigger.
They don't, though.
How big do they get?
I don't know crocodiles.
Right. So here's the thing. What we know about crocodiles now are crocodiles after guns. Okay? So guns change everything. So that alligator out there that you saw in our lobby, that's 80 years old.
Yeah.
80 years old, and a gun killed that alligator. So guns get introduced in the 1800s, and then explorers start going through the Congo in the 1800s, and they start shooting crocodiles. They shoot a lot of crocodiles. In fact, a friend of mine actually got hired to go to the Congo. Was it the Congo? Jim Shockey, what part did he go to? I forget.
I just found the guy, probably.
But he went to Africa. He's a hunter, and they hired him to shoot crocodiles because so many people in this village. He went to this village. He said it was so heartbreaking. Like, this guy's missing an arm, this person's missing a leg. They have bites taken out of them. And while he was there, a woman got taken out. Like, while he was there, a woman was washing clothes, and a crocodile snatched her and dragged her into the water.
Yeah.
And when human beings start bringing guns, the whole ecosystem changes. Right? So these 50-foot things that have been apex predators just sunning themselves on the shore, now some guy lines up a shot from the beach, or from a boat rather, and just takes it out. And they're shooting all these different crocodiles. And so doing this over the course of, 50, 60 years, all the big ones are dead.
Yeah.
And it takes fucking forever
Yes.
for a crocodile to become a 50-foot crocodile. And they don't die.
Yeah, but
They just stay alive.
There's-
Like, they only die when something happens to them.
But there's one crocodile in a reserve in South Africa who was born in like 1890 or something, and he's only like 17 feet long.
Right.
So you think that's because his environment wasn't big enough?
I think it's because he's born in 1890, not 1790.
Oh.
So they don't die.
Okay.
So if a crocodile's living in the Congo, okay, the Congo is rich with life. There's life everywhere. And certain animals have to cross these rivers. And that's just a fucking meal train.
Yeah.
You've seen those animals wildebeest trying to make it across the river, and then the crocs show up and just start snatching them. I mean, some of them make it through, and some of them die. And that's just how it's always been.
Yeah.
And so they've had enormous amounts of food forever. And if they've lived for hundreds and hundreds of years, those things would just continue to grow. It doesn't seem outside the realm of possibility for something to be twice as big as the biggest one that they've spotted.
Yeah, but that's long. Like great white sharks, we're pretty sure that they get to 22.5 feet, and then they get fatter.
Right.
So 50 feet is really big.
Megalodons.
Yeah, but that's a different thing.
Right. But it was also a giant fucking shark.
Yes.
I think it's possible that there's certain subspecies of crocodiles.
Yeah.
Just like there is like caimans, like there's different subspecies of caimans or crocodiles rather, even in the Amazon. There's big ones that get to be like 16 feet long, and there's small ones that get killed by jaguars all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Those are cool.
I think that Bigfoot is more likely to be real than a 50-foot crocodile.
So you think these people that had these depictions of it being as big or bigger than their boat, they're just exaggerating?
Yeah,
Yeah?
I do. But not in a malicious or even a lying way.
Probably just freaked out by the size of the goddamn thing.
Not even freaked out, just like it was giant.
Right.
Like-
and then they exaggerate over time.
Like it was probably 20 or 30 feet maybe. But like twice as big, more than twice as big as the biggest ever is pretty nuts.
It is nuts, but occasionally animals do have mutations that makes them much larger. And you see that with humans. Like the
That
biggest
is true.
human ever was like 9 feet tall, wasn't
Yeah,
he?
But not 12.
Right.
You know?
Right, true, right? Not double the size. Right, but he also was dealing with gravity.
Yes.
And like the real problems with being a gigantic human with all the bad bone problems. What is that? That's the world's oldest crocodile?
Yeah, Henry.
Jesus, how old's Henry?
They caught him in 1903.
Jesus. Caught him in 1903. How crazy is that? They caught him over 100 years ago.
When I was working on the video, I don't know why this occurred to me, but he was born roughly the same time as Adolf Hitler.
He's a man-eating croc?
Yeah, he killed a lot of people.
Nile croc, yeah.
So this guy's just hanging out with him? What the fuck is wrong with this dude? He's just assuming that thing's not hungry? How crazy are people that we want to sit right next to a goddamn giant monster like that? Look at the size of that thing. I just can't imagine why anybody would stand next to that. Can't you stand really far away and just film it?
That's how I feel about surfing.
700 kilos, so puts in at like 1,500 pounds or so.
Jesus.
1,400, 1,500.
They're so cool, too. Like, look at that face. The way all the teeth, like, integrate with the gums. And when you know that this thing... So it's captured in 1903. When was it born, right?
I think it was about 15 years old when they captured him.
That is so crazy. So this thing's somewhere around 135 years old.
Yeah.
This guy's just grabbing its dick. Look at it. He's like, hey, bro.
To compare that, that giant croc that always pops up on a golf course in Florida is known to be about 10 to 12 feet and 1,000 pounds.
Yeah, that's an
It's like
alligator.
I know, it's like 15 plus feet and
Yeah.
1,500 pounds.
Like I said, the one that's out there is 14 feet.
Yeah, I was really surprised to learn how much smaller, even when the size or when the length is similar, how much less heavy alligators are.
Oh, yeah, they're twice as heavy.
Yeah.
Yeah, crocodiles, rather, are twice as heavy. They are so dense, and they're so aggressive. Have you ever seen when they have, yeah, it turns towards them. Like, that guy could just get taken out like that.
But they drown. That's how crocodiles kill.
Because they get too big, right?
No, I'm saying.
Oh, how they kill people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like a crocodile like that would, if he couldn't drag you to water. Isn't that nuts that like their actual method is drowning?
Yeah. Well, they can hold their breath forever.
Right.
So they're just like, I know you can.
Right, because like their teeth are just meant for holding.
Yeah.
It's their teeth aren't meant for chopping or anything.
Have you seen the one where the crocodile takes a pig and snaps it in half with like a shake of his leg and chokes down the leg?
No. Have you seen the one where the crocodile just like rolls and rips its friend's leg off
Yes.
for no reason?
And the friend doesn't even flinch.
It's just like,
What the fuck, dude?
Yeah.
Yeah, the lady was feeding them, right? Mm-hmm. And he just, what do you got here, Jeremy? Oh, yeah, here it is. Look at that.
oh my gosh.
It just snaps that pig in half
yeah.
with
Sure.
a quick little fling of its neck.
Sure did.
Oh, that's my own Instagram. Watch this. Snap. Like it's nothing.
No.
Just wanted a bite-sized chunk. No big deal. Just an animal that's been around for how many millions of years?
I know we've strayed, but this is the guy you're talking about.
Richard Doty. Okay.
That's
Spread disinformation about UFOs on behalf of the Air Force Office of Special Investigations. So that's the guy.
Yeah.
So his job was to make you look like an idiot if you believed in UFOs. Now, why do you think they would do that?
To discredit people.
But why? Why would they want to discredit people?
Man, you are, I don't know. I guess to keep their secrets.
What secrets?
All right, then keep your secrets.
So you think that they know something about UFOs. They don't want people to believe these things are real. They want to discourage people coming forward, so they mock them. They turn them into fools. This guy's job is to discredit all the stories and make the person look like a crazy person, gaslight everybody.
Mm-hmm.
And it's because they don't want people to know what they know.
I would imagine that the truth is worse. Well, yes, but because what they know is really, really bad.
What do you think they think? What do you think they know? Do you subscribe to the Bob Lazar vessels of souls idea?
I'm unfamiliar with that.
Oh, you didn't know that one?
No, but
okay.
So I know Kathy Turner, a Dr. Kathy Turner, who wrote Taken, Into the Fringe, and Masquerade of Angels, and she said the only thing that's consistent throughout all abduction reports is that the aliens are fascinated with the concept of the soul. So I assume that works into whatever you're talking about with Bob Lazar.
Bob Lazar said one of the more bizarre things that he found out when he was working at Area S4 was that they had this like very thick sort of document on all that they knew so far about aliens. And one of the things was it went back to religion. See if you can find Bob Lazar talking about it so I don't butcher this. But I believe what he was saying was that they think of us as containers for souls. Now let's imagine, before we show the Bob Lazar thing, let's imagine how that would happen. Now let's imagine that human beings, we are biological life, and so therefore we have what we call a soul, and then we create digital life. And maybe this digital life, maybe artificial creations are what we're seeing in these gray aliens. Maybe they are some sort of hybrid or some sort of creation that's outside of evolution, is outside of natural adaptation. And they look at us as the source, like they can't breed anymore. Maybe for them to exist, maybe they need an actual soul. And to think of us as a farm for souls.
I really do think that we're a farm of some kind to them. Because it's funny, because people always say, like, they hang out over nuke sites so that we don't bomb ourselves. And it's like, sure, but not from a compassion standpoint. It's like if the farmer doesn't protect his cow because he wants it to find some sort of spiritual thing. And that's why I take issue with like Stephen Greer and all those people who are like, you just need to expand your consciousness and then you see it. It's like, I feel like that's what they want you to think.
Did you find the Bob Lazar thing? Here, listen to him talk about this because it's pretty crazy.
Yeah, the only hardcore thing is that there is an extremely classified document dealing with religion, and it's about that thick. Period.
Bob Lazar on humans and religion.
Yeah, the only hardcore thing is that there is an extremely classified document dealing with religion, and it's about that thick. Period. But why would there be any classified material dealing with religion?
I want to go back to the religion thing. I want you to say it.
It's so far out.
All right, your objection has been noted.
Okay.
What does it say?
That we're containers. That's how supposedly the aliens look at us. That we are nothing but containers.
Containers of?
Containers. Maybe containers of souls. You can come up with whatever theory you want, but we're containers. And that's how we're mentioned in the documents. That religion was specifically created so we have some rules and regulations for the sole purpose of not damaging the containers.
Ooh.
Yes.
Yikes. At the end, I didn't think of it that way.
Yeah.
That you can actually damage your soul.
Yeah.
But it is almost like every holy text has that.
Well, it does make sense too, because if what is in religion, right? The idea is like to save your soul. You have to abide by certain rules. You have to be good to each other. You have to live a just life. All of these things are laid out so you don't damage the energy that is inside you and turn it evil.
See, it could be more pragmatic than that, though. If someone is going to inherit your soul, they don't want it bogged down with bad habits.
Right. Yeah, well, they don't want it to be evil. They
Right.
want it to have negative energy attached to it and the karma of killing a bunch of people. Like,
Right.
who wants Dick Cheney's soul? You know? The alien's like, you could have that, dude.
Remember when he shot someone and then the guy apologized
Yeah.
to him? Isn't that nuts?
You know how gangster that is?
Yeah.
You shoot a guy in the face and the dude's like, yeah, I look like a bird. Don't worry about it.
I look like a deer. Is there any way to you that we're not being gaslit like to hell by Kamala Harris?
In what way?
Like, wasn't she like a joke even among Democrats?
Uh-huh.
Like 10 seconds ago, like literally
Sure.
like a day ago.
Yep.
And now it's like the country's rallying around.
I know.
Like,
yeah.
What? I don't know. I don't
Yeah,
even.
we're so easily manipulated, and they're all doing it in lockstep. Yeah, no doubt about it. There's no doubt about it. She was she polled as the least popular vice president of all time.
Yeah.
She is, I had dinner with a friend of mine recently who actually knows her. He says she's very smart, but when she gets in front of a camera, she locks up, and she's just not good at communicating, and she tries to go off script, and she, whenever you're talking in front of a large group of people, there's a bizarre stress and pressure that really constricts your ability to communicate.
I'm aware.
Yeah.
As of the last few minutes.
Yeah, it's weird. And this is just you and me, right? This is just you and me. And now imagine you and me, but we're in front of 15,000 people that are hanging on our every word, and you're kind of free-balling, and maybe you really haven't even done the research. Like someone's asking you how you're going to fix the economy, you right? And then you have some well, the problem is everybody needs money because the bills, and we're working on that. Like what?
Well, and that's so obvious when, with the passage of time is significant, and the significance of the passage of time is significant because of the passage of time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that's someone who is basically like a kid in the 5th grade who's writing a book report, but they haven't read the book.
That's every time I see her on camera, that's all I can think is that she's the kid who didn't do her homework.
Right.
Because she just has that vibe. Did you see the clip of her talking about how dare we wish Merry Christmas to people?
No.
Yeah, she does this bizarre rant about how we shouldn't be wishing Merry Christmas to anyone.
Is this when she was a senator?
I don't know. It's recent.
It's recent.
Yeah.
Really?
It's so strange that that was her. That's the only time I've seen her passionate about anything on camera.
Come on, really?
Yeah,
I haven't seen that.
Yeah, no,
I've seen the one she was telling that people need to be woke. Everyone needs to be more woke.
Oh,
you should
yeah?
be more woke. You should figure out who's the wokest. And try to be the wokest, but you should, everyone should be more woke. And she's laughing. It's like, what the fuck?
And when we all sing happy tunes and sing Merry Christmas and wish each other Merry Christmas, these children are not going to have a Merry Christmas. How dare we speak Merry Christmas? How dare we?
Merry Christmas, everyone.
She invoked Greta Thunberg a little bit there.
Oh, that's so nutty.
Yeah.
How dare we?
How dare we? How dare you?
Yeah. No, we're definitely being gaslit. Yeah. And not only that, here's the big one, right? She wasn't elected, right? No. She was appointed vice president, and then they didn't do primaries. They had no primaries for Joe Biden, and now all of a sudden she is the nominee because he's stepping away. And so then they bring in her, and they bring in this other guy who's radical from Minnesota. That's the vice president, who he believes a lot of wild things. One of them is transgender surgery for people who are under 13. Another one is abortion up until 9 months.
Ooh.
Yeah. Obviously, there's reasons why people medically would, if the woman's life is in danger, if the child has something wrong, it's not going to live. There's reasons why they choose to do things like that. But that stuff scares the fuck out of people. He changed the Minnesota state flag to make it look like the Somali flag. Yeah.
Oh.
You haven't seen that?
No.
Yeah. Show that video. So the video of him taking down the Minnesota flag, and he replaced it with the new flag that looks a lot like the Somali flag.
Wow.
Minnesota has a huge population of Somalis in it.
Well, isn't what's-her-face?
Yes.
Yeah. Omar.
Yeah.
Oh.
But there's a video of him doing it.
But I'm seeing false claims.
Man,
well, okay, let's see the video. But they did change the Minnesota state flag, correct?
Sometimes the false...
that's the problem with fact checkers. Some of these fact checkers are completely full of shit. You're just trying to debunk something, especially now when there's all this scrutiny being paid attention to what this guy's done.
Yeah.
What have you? What's the false stuff, Jamie? It's not the flag itself, correct?
I typed in. I was just trying to even get to it. A whole bunch of stories were popping up. I'll just show you this. No, he didn't give him a Somali flag. No, he didn't change it to resemble Somali. False Somali.
But
state
what does
flag.
it look? Okay, but what does it look like now?
That's what I was trying to get to.
Okay, on the left is Somali flag. On the right is the Minnesota state flag. Okay, same color as Somali flag. A white star, a different white star in it, like the Somali flag. Very different than the original Minnesota flag. And there's the video down below that. That's when he changes it out. So he takes out the Minnesota state flag. Oh, hold on a second. Wait a minute. Turn the volume up, please, so you hear him say that.
All right, ready. Whoa, wait a minute.
So he gets the flag, picks it up, moves it out of the way, and replaces it. Look at this.
There, that's better.
Is it?
Why is that better?
I don't know.
Why do you care what the flag looks like, first of all? And why do you get to change the flag? How crazy is that the governor gets to change the flag? Like, who else is involved in that decision to change the flag?
I was gonna ask, is that what happened?
I don't know.
Usually it's a big event. They let people pick, there's
Right. No, we
voting
have a
on
bunch
it,
of people
picking on
that's
it.
a high population of Somalis in your state. I would imagine they would want to try to get that flag a little closer to home.
Yeah. The worst incident of fact checking was the quid pro quo Joe clip, where Biden brags about that time that he withheld $1 billion of aid to Ukraine
So they fire a prosecutor.
to fire a prosecutor that we now know his son worked for.
Mm-hmm.
And if you type that in, Snopes or whatever would tell you just like, oh, that didn't happen. Biden, there was no quid pro quo, and Biden didn't want the prosecutor fired. That is because he didn't know that his son worked for Burisma at the time. And it's like, how can you just say that's fake? And like, it's scary to me that people will read that and be like, oh, it's fake. It's like,
Yeah.
no, look at it, like with your eyes.
Yeah, fact checkers are fucking dangerous, and it's really, I mean, what you're seeing is kind of treason.
That's
It's kind of what it is. If you're seeing that kind of fact checking, you're lying. You're lying, and you're intentionally misrepresenting facts, and you're doing so because you want a specific result politically.
right.
And it should be illegal.
I agree.
Especially if people think of you as a fact checker, and what does that mean? What does it mean to be a fact checker? The problem with facts is a lot of them are very subjective, and you can find one small inconsistency or you could phrase a question in a certain way and have your answer false in a different way because you're just finding some nitpicky way to look at things. I've seen a lot of that to the point where you're like, that's not fact checked at all. You guys just you're gaslighting. It's just
Right.
pure gaslighting.
This is what it says. Who picked the new flag?
State Emblems Redesign Commission, tasked with choosing the new flag and seal, made its final selections this week, and the new design will debut next year. It follows 4 months of meetings, many spirited debates, and 2,500 submissions from the public sharing their ideas for the new symbols.
This is why they changed it. He said it was problematic.
Problematic. Oh, I love that term. Our current flag is problematic. I think we all know that. We've evolved into a more diverse state, and I think it's more reflective of that. Okay, what was the original flag? There's concern with the scene depicted on the old flag, which many found offensive. First adopted in 1957, the flag showed a white settler tilling land as an indigenous man rides horseback. Indigenous members of the State Emblem Redesign Commission said it was harmful to their communities and promoted the erasure of their people from the land.
What?
Well, can I see what it looks like? Show me the original, just get a photo of the original Minnesota flag. Okay, click on that. Let's see what it looked like. Okay. So there's
very
a
blurry.
Native American on horseback. I see it, though. And then there's a farmer tilling the land, a Native American on horseback. Is that problematic because Native Americans didn't really ride horses and people didn't really till the land? Like, I don't understand what...
There's a big controversy about that, actually.
Yeah?
Whether or not how long horses have been in North America.
Well, horses originated in North America.
What?
Yeah, horses originated in North America, including zebras. All of them originated in North America. Then they were wiped out, and they had been introduced into Asia and Africa and all these other continents, and then reintroduced back to America.
Right. I meant like
when people rode them.
to correct it.
Right.
So a lot of people are saying that First Nations people had horses for a lot longer than Europeans had been in America.
Certainly possible. There's certainly different segments, different North American tribes that were much better, including right here where we are, the Comanche.
Mm-hmm.
The Comanche were notoriously good raising horses, and it was part of how fierce they were. They had so many horses, and they rode them so well, and they could ride sideways and shoot arrows underneath the horse's neck. But I don't know why that's so problematic. You got to replace it with something that looks a whole lot like a Somali flag.
Yeah.
The idea it doesn't look like a Somali flag is kind of crazy. I mean, it does.
It does.
It certainly does. It's certainly the same color. Certainly also has a white star. It's just a different white star.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's like, the flag doesn't bother me that much. If the people in Minnesota like it, like, who cares? It's just a star and some colors. The real problem is when you hear discussions of things that are like openly Marxist philosophies, when you hear talk about equal outcomes and not just equal opportunity, but that we all need to arrive at the same place, equal outcome talk. There's only one way they can do that, and it's by forcing you.
Well, it's by everyone having nothing.
Yeah.
That's the only way to have things totally equal. Because you
Exactly.
can't have everyone have everything. That's impossible.
Right. There's no way. There's not enough resources. And so for equal distribution, that has to be enforced by law. So that has to be enforced by the government, and the government generally does not have equal. They have much more than you. And that's Fidel Castro in Cuba. That's North Korea. That's virtually every communist country that's ever existed. You have a military dictatorship that decides what you can and can't do with your time.
Sure.
And all under the guise of making it better for everyone. And that's exactly what they did to North Korea. When they took over people's farms, they said, we're going to take over the farm so that everybody has food. Yay, good. Now everyone's starving.
Right.
And the government has all the food. And if you kill a cow, they'll kill you. Yeah, it's nuts. It's nuts that people don't learn from history, and it's nuts that people who subscribe to this leftist ideology have this very distorted version of humans and how capitalism works and what's the benefits of it. I think there's a lot of parts of progressive ideology and philosophy that could be applied to society to make things better. I think if we funded more things the same way we fund the fire department, the police force, these are kind of socialist things, right? Everybody gets access to the fire department.
Right.
It's a part of being in the community. We all pay for it. Education is that way, but it should be much more funded, right? It should be much more prestigious, much better trained teachers, a more esteemed position. I feel the same way about law enforcement. They should be much more respected, much better trained. We should put much more resources into that and have them be integral and a part of the community and for the safety of the community. Not the bad guys who come in to pull you over because you rolled through a fucking stoplight. That kind of shit.
Right.
And I think the problem is these people that have this idea of equal outcome, this is the worst version of all these leftist ideologies. The worst version is open borders, everybody should have everything, and then equal distribution of it. And then what always comes with that is they unarm the citizens. And if they don't unarm the citizens, you can't get away with any of this stuff. But as soon as you have no one has guns other than the police, everybody is forced to comply. And if the army and the police are the only ones that get to tell you what to do, and they take orders from the government, and the government is a communist dictatorship, you're fucked. And that has never been more evident than in all the versions of it that you can see in current world politics now, where a government has been taken over by a communist regime. It's always bad. It never turns out good. Not a single fucking time. People starve. It gets horrible. There's just terrible government overreach. You're seeing it now in England, where people are getting arrested for tweets.
Yeah. Well,
England, people talk about Soviet Russia, like how bad Russia is in terms of cracking down on thought police and cracking down on bad tweets and things like that. I think the statistics are, England I think there's something like 4,000 people have been arrested in England for thought crimes, where they've said things online that people find to be a hateful thing or a problematic thing. And I think it's only 200 in Russia.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That says a lot.
Yeah.
Maybe in Russia they're too scared to do it at all.
Could be. Yeah. But the fact that they're comfortable with finding people who've said something that they disagree with and putting them in a fucking cage in England in 2024 is really wild.
Yeah.
Especially they're saying you can get arrested just for retweeting something. And here's the problem with that. Even if you say, yeah, well, people shouldn't tweet hateful things. I agree. They shouldn't. But who's to decide what is a hateful thing?
That's the problem. It's
That's
subjective.
the problem. It's very subjective.
And it still shouldn't be a crime.
And in our lifetime, we've seen that get moved, right? So it used to be if a guy thought he was a woman and his name was Doug, and you grew up with Doug, and all of a sudden Doug wants to be called Debbie, if you call him Doug, it's no big deal. Like, yeah, maybe you're being rude to call him Doug, but it's not a hate crime, okay? Well, now a lot of people think it's a hate crime, and that got you banned from Twitter for life. So if you dead named someone on the old Twitter, you are banned for life. Dead name, not even making up a name. You can call him an idiot. You can call someone an idiot. Okay, forget about a man in a dress. Maybe that's a problem. But if you call like a regular guy an idiot, you stupid fuck, fine, no problem. But if you call Doug, you will get banned for life. Okay, that's the new hate speech. That's crazy. Now, if that keeps going, that didn't exist before. If that keeps going, maybe you can go to jail for calling him Doug. Maybe they think it's okay to put you in jail because you violated their hate speech laws. That's how nutty things can get. And you've also seen during COVID how ridiculous people get with cracking down and enforcing laws like that. You know, you saw it in Australia, people getting arrested for being outside without a mask on.
Which is like the opposite of what you should be doing.
Exactly.
I mean, you should be outside is what I'm saying.
Right, you should be outside and you should have a mask on. It's nonsense. It doesn't work. There's no evidence whatsoever that it's effective.
I thought it was funny how many people, like the mask was never intended to be protection for you.
Right.
It was to protect others around you. But like I saw so many people putting it on like a shield.
Mm-hmm.
It's like it's not a...
Not only that, it's you're using surgical masks. Those are designed to keep people from spitting into open wounds.
Right.
And dropping particles out of their mouth into people's surgeries.
No.
We're so susceptible to manipulation, and that's what's really scary about the time that we're living in, because we have so much access to information, but yet so many people are willing to put the blinders on and go full steam ahead with whatever their team wants. You know, like there was this ridiculous video the other day, comics for Kamala.
Oh,
did you see that?
No, what I saw, white men for Kamala. Was that it?
There's white dudes for Kamala. This is all organized, by the way. And there was a Twitch streamer, like one of the big time Twitch streamers, one of the big guys, who read out what they were offering him. They were offering him money to advocate for Kamala Harris online. He's like, I am not fucking doing this. And so he's like reading this thing where they're offering money. They're literally paying for astroturfing.
Yeah. The most egregious thing I've seen recently, you know, after everything of the past 8 years, 9 years, it's hard to get pissed off genuinely anymore. But is now all the left people saying that Trump is afraid to debate Trump. Or that Trump is afraid to debate Kamala. And I saw this meme of Trump as like the cowardly lion. Everyone's like, he's never going to show up. And it's like you said the exact same thing about Biden. The exact same thing. And Trump went in there and was just like, like it was, oh man. The guy who got shot in the face like 2 days ago and said, fight, 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 is scared to debate Kamala.
Yeah, it seems ridiculous, but, you know, that's just what they do. That's politics. They do it on the left. They do it on the right. They gaslight you. They manipulate you. They promote narratives. And the only one who's not doing that is Robert F. Kennedy Jr.
You a fan?
Yeah, I am a fan. Yeah, he's the only one that makes sense to me. He's the only one that he doesn't attack people. He attacks actions and ideas, but he's much more reasonable and intelligent. I mean, the guy was an environmental attorney and cleaned up the East River. I mean, he's a legitimate guy. You know, before anybody started calling him an anti-vaxxer, which I thought he was too. I thought he was this nut, this like conspiracy theorist nut, until I read his book. I read The Real Anthony Fauci, and I'm like, what is it? How much of this is real? Because if it's all real, this is fucking insane. And we live in a world where we're being manipulated by these health organizations that are being paid by the pharmaceutical drug interests. And these pharmaceutical drug companies are pumping these products out into the population and telling us that we need them, and then making insane amounts of money. And then also the government is in on it, and also they share a patent with Moderna, and also they share profits, and there's $700 million, however much money was made, whatever the number is that these guys made off of these products. Like, this is, all of it is fucking crazy. There's the revolving door between the CDC and the FDA and then these pharmaceutical drug companies. So the people that make the regulations then go on to have these cushy jobs with the pharmaceutical drug corporations. Like, oh, nothing to see here. It's like it's open. It's right out in the open.
Right.
And when he talks about all that stuff in his book, you're just like, what the fuck, man? If this wasn't true, he would be sued.
Yeah, but
So it seems to be true.
Yeah.
And it's a scary thing because people don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be attacked. You know, they don't want to be called an anti-vaxxer. That's a big one.
Right.
You know.
It cracked me up how a lot of the people on the right started to despise the vaccine, and then Trump at the same time was like, it's my vaccine, you guys.
Yeah.
And then he got kind of confused. It's one of the rare times in politics that Trump like didn't seem sure of his course.
Well, I think he was proud of getting it out there.
Warp speed.
Yeah, and he was proud that they did it. We got the vaccine. It was a good vaccine. I don't think he knows. You know, I think he took it, which is crazy too because the guy survived COVID. He got COVID before the vaccine was developed, and then he still took the vaccine, which is like literally illogical. It like doesn't even, it flies in the face of science and what we understand about the immune system.
Yeah.
But you know, there's a video of Anthony Fauci from many years ago on a talk show saying someone got the flu, should they get a flu shot? No, because if you survive the disease, if you recovered from the disease, you have the best protection. He's like literally saying that.
Right.
And then, of course, that was thrown out the window when they wanted to vaccinate everybody.
Well, plus it's not a vaccine.
Right.
A vaccine is a flu shot. It's the equivalent of a flu shot because a vaccine means you can't get it.
Well, it's even more weird because it's mRNA, right? So it's like this messenger RNA. It's basically gene therapy. Like you're tricking your body into creating these antibodies.
Right.
And you're also doing a bunch of damage to some people.
Yeah.
Which is also their gaslighting.
Right.
About how many people are vaccine injured. I fucking know a bunch of them. We all do.
Yeah.
We all know somebody who got fucked up by that stuff. It's all crazy. What's up?
Looking into the people arrested for tweets in England thing.
Yeah.
It's a very confusing story.
So it says 3,395 arrests have been made by 29 UK police forces for Section 127 offenses, which is used for cases of online abuse. According to the article, 1,696 people were subsequently charged. Section 127 offenses cover harassment that takes place via electronic communications network and is not limited to social media posts. Harassment via email or other forms of online communication can also fall under this definition.
So this video is going around recently.
Of the lady arresting that guy?
And this is going back to a discussion that Konstantin Kizin was having on a YouTube video.
Right.
From before COVID, though. So this was all from like 2017.
Yeah, but they've been doing it for a while, yeah.
That's what I'm looking up and trying to find. Like, I can't find any updated information that says that this is still continuing to happen, except for 3 guys were recently arrested for like the Leeds riots because they were posting violent stuff on Twitter or something like that.
I know there was one guy who was posting stickers. He got arrested for posting stickers that they said were offensive. It's just we take for granted the what we have with the First Amendment, freedom of speech.
Yeah.
Freedom of speech is gigantic. There's only one way you find out what's right. You got to let people talk. And you got to let people, even like on X, say the wrong things or say offensive things. You find those people, you don't like them, block them. You don't like it, don't listen. Don't read what they're saying.
Right.
You know, it's disturbing.
It is very disturbing.
It's very to me. When I really became like hyper aware of it was post October 7th, when you see so much anti-Semitism. It's just like blatant, out in the open, and often incorrect and ignorant anti-Semitism. Not just like, wow, look at all these Jewish people that are the head of these banks. Look at all these Jewish people that are running show business. But just ruthless, nasty anti-Semitism out in the open, and then people agreeing with it out in the open. You're like, ugh, like this is crazy.
Well, it's almost it's because it's coming from one protected class to another. Is how I see that. Because I mean, like, you know, obviously, if that was a stance of the right, it would be immediately called out as evil as it is.
Right. It's not right. It's a stance of the left, which is fascinating. That's why when those heads of universities were getting grilled, and they were talking about whether or not saying death to the Jews is harassment at MIT or at Harvard, rather. And she was saying, well, if it's actionable. So you're saying you got to
wait till they do it?
You got to wait till they commit genocide before it's a problem? Yeah.
No, that's pretty nuts.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's nuts. But it's also, it's like, this is the consequences of having these rigid ideologies where you think that your side has to be correct and the other side is incorrect. And if you think, free Palestine, this is what we're into. So, like, the people that are the most radical that are pushing that the furthest, like the Antifa of that organization, are the death to the Jews people. They're the ones that are going to take, like, remember during the George Floyd riots and the Antifa riots, like, people on the left sided with violent mobs and tried to gaslight you on what they did.
Yeah.
They said they're mostly peaceful demonstrations.
As the camera's panning around, trying not to get something engulfed in flames.
Yeah, it's crazy. That's gaslighting. But the reason why is because those are the people that are going to crack heads and get things done for our side. That's the implication. The implication is we are on the left, and the most violent and aggressive people on the left, they're going to push the envelope. They're going to get things done, so they're mostly doing good. They're mostly peaceful.
Yeah, well, I think the shame of it is that, like, I don't know, BLM, like, now it's pretty well understood that they were legit a scam.
Yeah, they made a lot of money. They bought a lot of real estate.
They bought, like, 6 mansions and a bunch of cars, and then they disbanded.
Yeah.
And it's sad. Like, have you seen the exterminator footage? There was this exterminator, white guy, literally got handcuffed and shot by the police on camera in a hotel.
For what?
So he.
Oh, you mean the guy that's in Phoenix?
I don't know
in
where it
Arizona,
was.
where he's crawling along the hallway, and the guy his pants are dropping down, and the cop shoots him.
No, I don't think so. This is a guy who he had he was an exterminator and he had a pellet gun and he was putting it in. That's it.
Yeah, it's in a hotel. Yeah.
Yeah, it's in a hotel. I remember that, and like that's one of the most disturbing. What I'm trying to say is that if you're trying to solve the problem of police overstep, looking at it through a racial lens isn't going to solve it because that's not the problem.
Right.
Because it happens to white people.
It happens to a lot of people.
Right.
Yeah.
So you can't just blanket statement with it saying that it's about one particular group.
Well, I think it was one of those moments in history where one thing sets off and there's a bunch of tension that's like at the surface, racial tension. And then one thing sets it off, and then there's this narrative. And then there's through social media, you get all these examples that you see over and over and over again of white cops shooting black people.
Yeah.
And so people have it in their mind that black people are unjustly harassed and are attacked more than anyone else. And that's why that professor at Harvard who released that study showing that there is not a difference, there's not a disparity, a racial disparity in the way black people are assaulted or are shot by cops versus white people. And people attacked him because they don't want their narratives destroyed. The problem is bad cops.
Right, of course.
That's the problem. And the problem is sociopaths that become police officers. This problem is cops with PTSD. The problem is just like you can have bad anything in any walk of life. You can have a bad doctor, you can have a bad football coach, you can have a bad cop. And the bad cops are a real fucking problem. They wind up shooting people that shouldn't be shot. They're fucking crazy. They've lost their soul. The aliens wouldn't want them as a container.
No, they wouldn't.
No.
The
alien thing is crazy if what we're talking about when we talk about like save our souls, like that we think about having like your essence is negative and evil. And that negative evil essence, they're trying to minimize the amount of those. Like if your crop has like a disease, if like some sort of a thing some fungus is growing on your crop, you got to destroy most of the crop. Like what do we have to do to protect the crop? Well, we give the crop religion. Let's keep these mind viruses from destroying us. Let's keep war at a minimum. Let's keep these people from doing things that are unethical and immoral because they actually do damage the thing that we need the most that's inside of it.
Right.
Have you ever had any sort of an alien experience?
Yeah, actually. My roommate and I, this was at my college, Ripon College. We were on this place, that's basically just a balcony. And we just saw, it was like 3 a.m. We were drank a lot that night, and we're having our last cigarette of the night. And we just saw one triangle with red dots appear way in the distance, and it was by a radio tower, which I only mention because it's easy to say then you saw the radio tower. But it's like, no, the radio tower was clear. And then we watched it for like 2 minutes, and then another one appeared right next to it, and then they both disappeared. And it wasn't really a big deal at the time, like, and it still isn't now, but it was something, man. It was really something.
When you say it wasn't a big deal, what do you mean?
Like, we weren't like agitated, like, you know, it wasn't like, it was more just like, that's nuts. Like, it wasn't.
Well, you're probably a little drunk still too, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But
you all saw the same thing?
Oh yeah.
How many guys?
Just 2 of us, and it was very far away.
Did anybody else see it? Was there any other reports?
Not that I know of. I never looked into it.
And so it was very far away. And how did it move?
Didn't move.
It just hovered?
I don't know if the first one appeared or not, or if it was always there. But like, I think he saw it first, then I looked and was like, "What is that?" Because it was dark, but you couldn't see stars behind it. You know, so like there was obviously something in between the 3 red lights, and then the second one appeared overlapping it, so like in front of it, and then they both just disappeared.
Just disappeared?
Yeah.
Just blinked out of existence?
We didn't see him leave.
So you were staring at it and all of a sudden it was gone?
Correct.
And did you both say, "Oh shit, it's gone"?
I don't even remember.
Wow.
It was something though. I have it. I have photos of it on an old BlackBerry.
Really?
Yeah, but
how blurry are they?
Very blurry. They just they look like nothing.
What's the best photo of a UFO that's ever been taken? I mean,
I don't know.
There's a bunch of old ones from like the 1960s, I think are straight horseshit.
Yeah.
There's this one guy who kept encountering them. And it looks like hubcaps and stuff that he's throwing in the sky.
No. Could have been that. I don't know. I don't know specifics of photos.
Did you ever see the Mexico City footage?
Ugh, I don't even know why. That made me think of Signs, the movie.
Yeah.
It's my favorite movie of all time.
It's a good movie.
No.
The Mexico City UFO footage is interesting because it's in Mexico City and you see this thing flying and you see it like in the distance as it's going past these buildings. And you're like, what the fuck is that? And seen by thousands and thousands of people.
I would imagine that the best one is the Phoenix Lights.
Mm-hmm.
That's kind of the...
Yeah. Clearest UFO photo ever taken was hidden from the public for 3 decades. The Calvin photograph taken by 2 hikers in the Scottish Highlands. The pictures handed over to the Ministry of Defense and was hidden from the public for more than 3 decades. The unbelievable images show a diamond-shaped object hovering in the sky. It looks like a saucer. It looks like it's just pointing at the top. Like, doesn't it look like it would be circular? Why do they think it's diamond-shaped? Oh, okay, that way it looks diamond-shaped.
Is that a photo? That's the photo?
Mm-hmm.
Holy crap.
Yeah. Wild, huh?
That is very wild.
Yeah.
It does look like it'd be circular.
I mean, it's hard to say what the fuck that is. Go back to that other one with this. I think that the top one is like enhanced.
I was trying to read it. There's some descriptions about it and eyewitnesses that saw it too. I was trying to read what it said. This right here says there's something fishy here. Yeah, huge pinch of salt, but I was trying to get to it.
Right.
It says it's hovered for 10 minutes, shot upwards, which we've heard before.
Before disappearing. Negatives of the picture dubbed the Calvin photographer originally handed over Scotland's Daily Record newspaper, who in turn passed them to the Ministry of Defense. However, they were never shown to the public. After decades of research, photos uncovered by academic and journalist Dr. David Clark. Dr. Clark reached out to... Clark is spelled in 2 different ways right there. This website might suck. See, he's got an E in the first one, then afterwards is no E. As the story goes, that Dr. Clark reached out to Craig Lindsay, former Royal Air Force press officer, who had kept a copy of the photo after the story was looked into back in the 90s. Lindsay even kept the original envelope containing the Calvin photos in his possession. That's the dude? That dude looks like he might sell you a bad car. For instance, an astronomer was left amazed by a UFO caught flying across the moon. What the fuck's that? Click on that. Okay. So he's looking at it through a telescope. What's he see?
See that?
What?
I did
Flew
see
across
that.
the screen there.
Oh, yeah.
happened fast, but
Right.
I mean, there's a lot of space in between his telescope and the moon, too.
Yeah,
Could be a
that
lot
could
of
be
things.
satellites, right?
Could be a lot of things.
It says not the ISS. Okay. Maybe it's another satellite.
Maybe it's a bug.
Or
Rod.
Or
maybe it's UFO.
aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or UFOs.
UAPs.
Yeah. Why'd they change that? Did UFO have a stink to it?
I think it was so Hillary Clinton had a soundbite.
Really?
Do you remember when she was the one who announced it?
Oh. That they changed the name?
Yeah, she was the first one to do it. Have you seen that clip where she's like, UAPs, actually?
No,
Yeah.
I haven't. All of it's weird.
It
'Cause
is weird.
It's a waste of time, because if there's no real evidence in front of you, you're just sitting around here spinning your wheels, having stupid conversations
Finally
about them.
tonight.
Oh, what happened? Sorry. What's that one about?
Hillary Clinton was promising to tell the truth about UFOs back
Oh,
in
she lied.
2016.
She's just trying to get elected. Maybe if she won, she would have told us.
The Breakfast
There
Club.
was Charlemagne.
The God.
You think she smells like sulfur?
I do. No, I don't. Have you seen the remake, the Alex Jones remake of that song?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
yeah.
like the best thing I've
Oh,
ever
it's
seen.
amazing. Yeah, it's amazing when he goes on that rant and they turn it into a song.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. It's easy to get very cynical about our world now.
It is. It's
And
terrible.
I think that's also a feature of this whole UFO thing is that people want the UFOs to come and save us.
Yeah.
because they think we're fucked.
I think that extraterrestrials, if they exist, are evil.
Really,
I do.
really.
Well, I mean, if you look at the lion's share of abduction reports, they're all really nasty.
Yeah, there's always an anal probe and weird being paralyzed on an operating table and
Yeah.
But also, it's like you got to imagine the fear that a person would have. It's not evil in terms of like they don't get killed, right? So they get released, they get returned, but they have this terrifying and frightening experience. So you got to imagine that just taking aboard a UFO, even if they're being kind to you, would be fucking horrific.
Mm-hmm.
You'd be so scared that you would kind of assume that they were negative.
Right. Well, according to Dr. Carla Turner, so she has 3 rules, or 10 rules about UFO abductions. The first one is that we don't actually know what they are, so aliens or extraterrestrial, or carbon or terrestrial, aliens, interdimensional, or something else entirely. And the second rule is that they lie about their origin, and because they've given lots of places and none of them panned out apparently. And then the third rule is that they're full of shit, and that they have total control over the abductee. So like you only remember what you want or what they wanted you to remember, and like it's nuts because she was like a doctor of language. Nothing to do with aliens or anything. Until in 1991, they let her remember that she's been abducted all her life.
Whoa.
Yeah, and then, strangely enough, the same thing happened to her husband. He remembered that he'd been abducted all of his life, and evidently they told her something like, well, "Why do you think you guys married each other?" And the implication was that it was just convenient for the aliens.
Whoa.
I know. And it's so weird because, like, you can watch her lectures. They're mostly blacklisted, but there are ways to find them even on YouTube. And
Does she seem rational?
she seems so rational. And she just has this sweet, she's not old, but kind of an old lady voice. And she talks extensively about how all these abductees have terrible traumas left from it, even if they have positive memories of the abductions.
Right. Just because the subconscious probably has.
Correct.
Yeah.
And that a lot of them have terrible issues of cancer, and then she dies of cancer everywhere in 1998. Yeah, like it's. I only discovered her a little while ago, and it was very, very disturbing stuff. Like really disturbing stuff.
Wow. Tucker Carlson seems to believe that they've always been here. He doesn't think they're coming here from another planet.
I think that might be more likely.
He thinks that they're in the Bible, that this is something that's a feature of human history that people have always discussed, like these beings, these things that are with us, and that somehow or another they're able to evade our detection
Right.
on a regular basis, however that is. but he thinks they're like angels and devils.
Well, I'm sure that's the words we used for them. I mean,
Yeah.
have you read the angel description? Mm-hmm. Like it's a wheel with 16 eyes or something.
Yeah, that's Ezekiel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like that's a bizarre way to describe an angel.
Yeah. I don't know what he's describing.
I think he's describing a craft, and by eyes he means like sensors or something. Like the translation got wonky.
That's the problem, right? The problem is the translations. First of all, you have to think that a lot of those stories were told for hundreds, if not thousands of years before they were ever written down.
Sure.
And then they're told and written down in Aramaic. They're written down in ancient Hebrew, and then they're translated. They're translated to Greek, Roman, or Latin rather. They're translated to English, French, German. A lot is lost. I mean, a lot is lost. You translate Russian to English today.
Right.
You know, like if you see a Russian, I see a Russian post sometimes on Twitter, and I'll hit translate, and I'm like, oh, look at that wacky. It kind of puts it together. You know, it kind of puts it together in a wacky way, and that's common. But that's a language that we're well aware of. Millions of people speak Russian. Millions of people speak English. This is the best we could do.
Right. And still the telephone game.
Yeah, still. So now imagine a time with no science, no real understanding of what, you know, the forces there at work in terms of like natural selection and all the different things, space and all the things that we're aware of today, the things that we do know. And imagine these people are writing down these stories about the origins of humanity and the origins of mankind. And I think there's some truth to what they're writing. There's something to it. I've always said that about the Big Bang. Like the beginning of the Bible is, in the beginning there was light. Boy, that sounds a lot like a Big Bang.
Sure does.
Like, what is that? What if I was going to tell you the story of the Big Bang, and then you told other people for like 1,000 years, and then finally somebody writes it down? What do you think that would look like?
Right.
Probably in the beginning there was light. You know.
What is it? They say theologians need many miracles. Creation or evolution. Richard Dawkins type people only need one.
Yeah, the Big Bang.
Yeah.
Yeah. How did it happen? Oh, but it just did.
Yeah.
And it created everything that we see. Like, okay. And doesn't Sir Roger Penrose, doesn't he believe that that wasn't the beginning of the universe now? I think Roger Penrose has a completely different theory about that now, which is fascinating.
Yeah, my brain's not big enough for that stuff.
I don't think anyone's is. That's part of the problem.
Well, but like I acknowledge it, and I don't even care.
Right.
Like that doesn't interest me. Like I'm too fascinated by the smaller level. I don't need the overarching giant one.
I need it all.
You need it all.
I need the overall. I mean, it's all interesting to think about. It's like occasionally I want to ponder how does this thing just expand to some insane point and then come back? What was before the Big Bang? The theory of Roger Penrose. Attempt to answer the question, what was before the Big Bang, led last year's Nobel Prize winner Roger Penrose to an interesting cosmological concept in which our universe is just one link in an endless chain of predecessors and descendants. I mean, why not? Why not? If there is a Big Bang, why not a series of them? Why not an infinite number of different possibilities that these things could play out in?
I mean, it's all theoretical, though.
Right. It's part of the problem.
So, none of it, I don't know. It doesn't mean anything.
Right. Like in terms of your real world.
Right. Well, I mean, it does. Everything means something.
Yeah, it means something. But you're basically just spinning your wheels, just like you're spinning your wheels thinking about aliens. It's like we're just kind of spinning our wheels.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's true.
Until we're not.
Yeah.
Until they come. That's the other theory, is that they're giving us a slow trickle of disclosure.
Yeah, but why would they
so that
care?
we get accustomed to it. So civilization doesn't collapse, so the stock market doesn't crash, so that we don't, click off World War III.
Did you mean humans are giving us a slow trickle?
Yes, that's what I mean. That's what I mean.
Yeah, no, that's fair.
Yeah. Have you ever read any of Diana Pasulka's work?
Mm-mm.
Very interesting. And she's a religious scholar, and her take on this is very similar to like a lot of what Tucker Carlson's saying. And one of the things that she said with talking to people that, especially Gary Nolan from Stanford, that these people that have examined materials, that these materials, like whatever the fuck this stuff is made out of, is not something that we make. We can't make it. Or if we did make it, it would cost hundreds of billions of dollars or some, whatever the number is, some insane amount of money to create these composites, whatever their metallurgy examinations of this stuff is. And that they describe these things as donations. these crashed crafts that like a donation, like that this race of super intelligent beings, hey, figure this out. Like, you know, you leave a 57 Camaro in the fucking, or a 57 Chevy in a parking lot somewhere, and then people stumble upon it and go, what is this? What is it? How is it? What's that? Is it a tire? Oh, if you get wheels and tires, oh, I can get it to roll.
Right.
Oh, the engine fires. It spins this thing. There's the transmission. It causes the wheels to. We can make one of these, and that's what they do. And this is the Bob Lazar thing. Like Bob Lazar said that one of all these classified documents that related to these UFOs, he said one of them, they said, was from an archaeological dig. Allegedly. That's the problem, right? It's all nonsense. We're sitting here just wasting time. We could be very productive with our lives. Instead, we're talking about UFOs.
Yeah. I mean, you're doing all right, I think.
What else are you making videos about? Anything interesting you got coming up?
I'm doing sharks because sharks are cool.
Mm-hmm.
Who doesn't love sharks? I'm doing a dream.
A dream one?
Yeah, about a dream I had. Lanky gray aliens, but I finished that one already.
Yeah, I saw that one today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you watch it?
Yeah.
Oh.
Is that your dream?
Yeah, that was me.
So you've had this recurring dream of lanky gray aliens?
No, lanky gray aliens are just like a figment of my imagination and my like, you know, boogeymen that kids have that's like just in your liminal, is that the word, liminal?
Subliminal?
No.
Oh, liminal?
Liminal space.
Oh, okay.
Like if there's like, did you have a basement when you were a kid?
Yes.
Okay. Did you ever have to like turn the switch off somewhere and then go up the stairs?
No.
Okay, well I had that, and then like when it's the fear of where you can't see.
Right.
And I think everyone has a distinct thing that their brain imagines that's pretty terrifying. Mine were always lanky gray aliens.
But if it's always this one thing,
yeah, isn't that weird?
If you wonder if these people are saying that their memories are erased, and then you do have an encounter or you do have a sighting of a thing.
So I never gave that any thought whatsoever until I saw Gary Nolan's. That's his name, right?
Mm-hmm.
Nolan. His talk on like new Channel 7 News or something, and he described this electric feeling that he experienced after something. This is how you connect, is what he said, and that's literally the only thing of that entire video that made me like, oh, because I remember that I had this weird ass dream about a gray. And then after that dream, I was just like, I remember feeling very electric. I am not saying that I had an alien encounter. I'm not. I'm truly not. But that did give me pause. Excuse me. I keep burping. It's really embarrassing.
But it's interesting to me that these things always happen while people are sleeping, or they always happen at night, which is when the dream state happens. And like, so what is the dream state? Dreams are bizarre. Like, we have this very realistic thing that we're experiencing that we don't really understand. And we sort of just accept that we have this wild imaginary experience that seems realistic. And you wake up, you're like, oh my God, I can't believe this dream that I had. It's so nutty. Like, what is that? Like, what is this thing that's different than any other sort of imaginary thing that you experience in your life? All the imaginary things that you experience in your life are like, they're easily written off for the most part. But dreams seem hyper realistic sometimes.
They sure do.
And you have to remember, oh, this is a dream. I had one last night where I woke up and I was like, oh, that's a dream. Like, what the fuck is that about? How weird. They seem like real experiences while they're happening.
Right.
And if you are having dreams that seem like real experiences and they're recurring and they're involving extraterrestrials, and you've had this sighting, and there is this understanding that they could manipulate what you remember and don't remember, you can kind of mind fuck yourself into thinking you're getting abducted.
That's why I don't think I was. Because to think that you were, or to think that you have been abducted is, I feel like, it's strange. Like, because I don't feel like I've been abducted. Like, I don't feel like a weirdo.
I feel like you've been abducted.
Do you?
I don't know. It's just fun to say.
It is. It is. But yeah, I don't know. That wasn't it. So if there are people who are like suggestible and think they've been abducted,
right,
then what I am describing is a good case study in that.
I think that's a factor for sure.
Yeah.
Well, that's a factor too with memories. Like people can place memories into a person.
Right.
And also people can distort their own memories over time and then have this like very rigid memory of a thing and you have it completely wrong.
That's very common, I'd imagine.
Very common.
Yeah.
Right. Which is why the mind is such a bizarre thing in the first place, because it's how you formulate your view of reality, but it lies to you.
Right. Well, but they're hopefully useful lies.
Yeah, hopefully, but sometimes not. You know, sometimes people have a very bad version of themselves from memories. Like they have a lot of self-hate or a lot of self-doubt, and then they connect these memories to themselves and they distort themselves and make themselves even worse.
Right.
Yeah, so hopefully it's beneficial, but sometimes it's not.
Well, it has to exist from an evolutionary perspective, I'd imagine. That serves a purpose. That's not random.
Probably, right?
If you're remembering yourself as doing something obnoxious or stupid, that's because the essence of you doing that is true, and now you're ideally supposed to overcorrect or supposed to correct that.
Right. It's a lesson that you can learn from that.
Right.
Yeah.
But you're right. If it just cripples you emotionally, it doesn't do any good.
Well, it's just fascinating that this animal, this calculating animal, is like constantly forming images of what's real and what's not real. And and what it is, and it's looking at itself in some sort of a strange way and trying to examine how it fits into the world.
Which is impossible for it to do.
Right.
So it's like an exercise of torture.
Yeah, and yet we all engage in it
Constantly.
Yeah.
Oh.
Any other things you're working on before we wrap this up?
No. I'm trying to get a book published.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
On what?
It's a novel, so all my subscribers would hate it.
I don't think so.
I do.
Why do you think they'd hate it?
Because it's not about Bigfoot or anything.
What's it about?
Well, it's it's high fantasy.
High fantasy?
High fantasy.
What does that mean?
Wizards.
Oh.
Knights. Lord of the Rings type stuff.
That sounds fun. People love that shit.
Yeah, but that there are two protagonists who are gay, because I am gay. So there's that, and I don't think that'll. I sent.
There's plenty of gay people.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people that don't care if someone's gay. Why would that be bad? Don't look at it all negative.
Yeah, maybe.
Look, man, it sounds like fun. Look, people love those kind of fantasy type books, and think about The Hobbit, Lord of the Rings.
No, I'm aware.
Game of Thrones. Like people love that shit.
All the agents, they want magical realism.
Magical realism.
Magical realism.
Like what is that?
That'd be like Twilight, like when magic ingrains in the real world.
Oh, that's interesting. Magical real,
which is an oxymoron.
So instead of a fantasy world like Lord of the Rings, they want it in the modern world, a realistic modern world, but with magic.
Correct.
Fuck them.
Even though none of the big sellers of all time are that way. Well, a few of them are, but
isn't that funny?
Yeah.
But just the weird gatekeepers. It's almost like you should write it on your own and not even talk about it,
right.
And then get it to where you're done with it, and then just try to pitch it.
Right. Well,
don't let anybody.
I have been pitching it.
Oh, you have? Are you done?
Oh yeah, I'm done, and
okay.
and I've got it proofread by paid for an editor and all that good stuff.
Oh wow. So you self-published the whole thing?
No, it's not published.
Self-wrote the whole thing and did it all yourself without a deal.
Yeah, yes, correct.
I mean, a lot of times people get contracted.
Yeah, no, and but like I gave up because it was like every day I was getting an email back from someone telling me my kid was ugly. And I couldn't do it, and it was just too depressing.
Well, maybe you should self-publish. Like, there's a lot of people publish things just on Amazon, right?
I have pride.
Oh, you need to be with a legit publisher?
I do.
Really?
I would rather wait. I'm actually very young by publishing standards.
How old are you?
33.
Oh, wow. So you've been doing this YouTube page for a long-ass time. So you were like 21, 22?
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's cool, man.
Yeah, it is cool. And I had other jobs most of the time. I only recently started doing the channel full-time.
Oh, so now it's your full-time gig?
Yeah.
Like, how recent?
Like 2 years ago.
So you basically like get ad revenue and stuff like that. Some money. Well, it's very good, dude. It's fun. It's
Thank
really
you.
fun.
I
Like I said,
it
makes me feel like old-timey radio, like I'm hearing the spooky story. I've listened to quite a few of them actually in my car, where it's just like you have all the animations and like the Bigfoot one I listened to in my car.
Yeah.
The one where it was reaching in and hitting the light switch and the laugh. It's fun.
It is. It's fun,
Fun stuff, man.
Scary.
Tell everybody your YouTube channel so they could find you and.
My channel name is Bob Gymlan, BOBGYMLAN.
And do you have Instagram or
No,
nothing?
No. And
Good for you.
I don't want it either.
Good for you.
No.
Good for you, man. That's rare amongst young people.
I just want to make my videos and that's it.
Good.
No.
Don't read the comments either.
I do. I do all the time. It's so depressing.
You don't need to read them.
No.
How many subscribers do you have now?
I think 239.
Yeah. Once you get over 100,000, you got to stop reading them.
Yeah.
Too many humans.
Too
many humans.
Yeah.
Too many opinions. Too many crazy people. Too many mind viruses that can get into your head.
They get you.
I enjoy it though. I think your channel's very good. It's very interesting. I like your calm voice through the whole thing.
Yeah.
It's really good, dude. Good
Cool.
stuff.
Thank you.
Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Good luck. Best of luck in the future.
Thank
Good
you.
luck with your book.
Thank you.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Bye.